Hey y'all. We're going to do a panel. Ask a black girl. I don't think there's anyone here right now, but that's what we're going to do. It'll be fun. Hooray! Okay, let's jump into it. Hope you all are doing well. If there's anyone here at this moment. Okay. Go.
Recording at that point. Prime, my guy, what's good?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. You're already streaming, so you're probably already capturing it with OBS and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Cool beans. All right, so
can I ask a quick question?
yes, ma'am.
How do we add our handle? Is it you said? I'm sorry, I was listening.
So you go to the edit. You go to edit name, and then you should be able to edit your headline as you edit your name. It should be right in the block right underneath it. So Prime, if you want to do that too, you can add your ad.
My name is
I think it's gone now. I think
you
it was
not
there
see my name?
earlier.
No, I can see your name. I'm talking about if you wanted to add your handle for people to find you other places. But I think yours is,
it's all Prime. That's
yeah. Yours is all the same.
yeah.
You have consistent branding.
Yeah, I think something happened that changed it because I did mine at first, but now I don't think that option's there anymore.
Yeah.
So you might have to do it manually smooth.
Hello, Zimmy. I've never met
never
you,
mind.
but you look exactly like a cousin of mine. Like, exactly like her. And she's a good one. She's great. So that's a compliment.
Good. Hi, I'm Zimmy, everyone. So hi, Hope, Prime, and Whitney. I think.
Hi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Zimmy is doing me a huge favor because typically Zimmy hate niggas. Me in particular, like she extra hates me, but she don't mess with us. So I was like super shocked. And then Hope is also doing me a huge favor. Up here, and I am super appreciative.
I don't hate niggas, by the way.
I think we'll see by the end of this, right?
Is it strong dislike?
I'm just honest.
Hold on, what's your nickname?
Some people call me misandrist, Zimmy, and I do embrace it. I do embrace that name.
That's awesome. I like that.
Oh God.
That's hilarious.
Let's see. You heard anything for Paris?
Earlier today, and then
there you go.
And then when I need the link, I sent it to you. You know what? Whatever.
I'll just send it right now. I got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hold on. If it actually copies and pastes. There we go.
Well, yeah, there'll be an intro. We'll give all of you your own introductions. You can say your name and a little about yourself, whatever you feel comfortable. And then I'll read off the prompt, or prompt can, it doesn't matter. And we'll kind of give opening statements and break into a conversation. And if any points it feels like we're getting in the dead zone, we do have a few other questions that we'll kind of like continue to flow through, but we're kind of just gonna play it by ear. Y'all are the stars.
Yes. I am only here just to be here. Whitney, what's so funny?
Nothing. I'm chilling.
No, I'm just messing with you.
Like you already started with me. I haven't even said a word. I've been zen all day, and here you come fucking my shit up. Don't start. Don't start.
Prime said this wasn't possible.
Gonna give me a bad read, man.
Ooh, don't try me. You know it's a full moon tonight too. Don't play.
Yeah. I gotta avoid you for the next 4 calendar days.
Crying.
Man.
All right, so then I'm gonna talk while we wait. Let's.
Oh, yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
these
You usually
motherfuckers.
say that. You usually say it. You usually say it.
Yeah, I usually do. Yeah. So, but like, I thought maybe this group of diverse people might have something to say, but no, I'll do it for you. Okay.
That's hilarious.
What up? So,
Who here loves the great Kevin Samuels? God rest his soul.
He's not my favorite.
Oh, you were serious? Okay.
Boom.
Hey everyone.
hello?
Hello.
God was resting his soul.
I don't think that's not.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Baron.
Yeah, I was just curious. I knew I was gonna start up something. You can move us all to the bottom.
Yeah. Considering
Yeah,
everything
consider.
the way it is, yeah. All right. Boom. So it's y'all there, we here. Yeah, that's good.
All right. So, who else are we waiting for?
Y'all gonna be in Black Women Business.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit.
that's
A little
it.
bit.
No, I
Just a
think it's
smidge.
everybody, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that is
we
everybody.
end up losing one, but it's okay. We
Oh.
Yeah,
move.
okay.
Boo.
Okay. Let me make y'all aware. Earlier, I was streaming my own YouTube. I did have some technical difficulties. I hope they're resolved now because it was out of my control. So if I do drop out, I will come back.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Understood.
All right. Well, everybody. So look, again, when it starts, it just
Let's get it.
we're obviously live on my end. So anyway, is everybody good? Everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
Cool beans. I bet. Let's go ahead and do this.
Let's get it. It's just Lena.
It's your boy D.
I'm Shar. You're tuning in a homeroom with Smooth. Class is now in session.
Yo. So listen, this is the Homeroom with Smooth podcast, also in collaboration with Prime Kai's over there on Twitch. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all sub to him on Twitch. Don't sub to me, sub to him. Okay, he's consistent. I'm not. Okay, I'm over on YouTube. I just got to be honest. I got to be frank. All right. So listen, I got with me this wonderful panel that was put together by none other than Bam. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to him. You know what I'm saying? For getting this whole thing together. So without further ado, we'll let the ladies going left to right introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I am Paradise Paris, and of course, I am your favorite controversial content creator, and you can find me on almost every app you touch.
Hey everybody, my name is Hope Giselle. I'm an author, advocate, all that good jazz. And for the sake of this conversation, I'm just the person trying to get my shit off. So that's just about it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zimi. I'm a sociologist and a professor, and just super excited to be here for this conversation.
What's up, guys? It's your girl, 420 artist Whitney. Your YouTube's about to be YouTube's favorite tarot artist, you know, about to be out here reading everybody for their life, but giving guidance, though. But artists as well. So check me out on all socials, 420 artist Whitney.
Boom. Okay.
Correct.
What?
Bam.
That was fantastic.
Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
I'm good.
Uh,
They don't know me now.
Bam, my people don't know who you are,
They don't
fam.
need to.
This is on audio. They don't know who you are.
Okay, my name is Bam. I am a nigga that gives correct takes 100% of the time. Find me at this little name underneath here.
I'm gonna need the Carfax on that one. All right, so my name is Prime Kai. You will find me on Twitch and YouTube and other platforms as well. I do debate panels, something similar to this, all the time. Gathering diverse people, and we'd love to have you. So hit me up there on Twitch and YouTube.
All right. So listen, I'm going to pass this off to my man Bam because he has the opening. So go ahead, Bam.
Okay. With this discussion, we hope that we delve into the impact being a Black woman has on your dating life, social interactions, political engagement, views on feminism, and feelings about media portrayals. Explore the challenges, stereotypes, and cultural expectations you encounter in these areas, and share your unique identities and experience and desired changes you see in representation. So basically, to sum all that up in the simple words, one at a time, tell me what being a Black woman means to you, and how do you feel about that? Left to right.
Don't go right.
I don't know. It's kind of like this unicorn, imaginary, like glowy feeling that you get. Like it's always like a bubbly sensation all the time being a Black girl. Like, no, seriously, like it's really some dope shit because we kind of like we the underdog, but we always rising. Like, you know, we really slept on. And then there we go, surprising the hell out of everybody. And it's kind of amazing to constantly keep making people look at you and listen to you. And I know a lot of women have an issue with that, but it's kind of like, it's one thing when you have, for instance, white women, they're going, hey, look at me, look at me. And Black women, we just be vibing, doing our own thing. And then everybody be like, look at her, look at her. You know, so that's to me how it feels like existing as a Black woman. A lot of times I don't have to ask for attention. I just vibe. I just do my own thing. I just create my own sector. And people rock with it. And they support it however, you know, and I don't make myself have to conform to other people's ideologies. I just do my own thing. And then even for Black women who don't represent me or look like me, they still fuck with it and we just bond. So that's how I feel for me.
Okay. Oh,
I think I agree with that, but I would probably label it like a variety box of my favorite shoes or like a closet of my dreams. Like I feel like that's what being a Black woman feels like to me. Like I can go into this space that like there's something that I need and nothing is ever lacking. And even if I didn't know it was there like before, when I need it, it pop up. Like being a Black woman is like perpetually having community for me. Like I feel like, don't get me wrong, I know that everybody has their sense of community, but nothing is more solid than a community of Black women as a Black woman, right? Like there's just like the way that we communicate, the way we talk, the way we dance, the way that we move, the way that we argue, like there's something that is very specific about it. And even in the understanding of like, we could be arguing, but you don't get to come in on this arguing and argue with us. Like, you know, like there's a bunch of different like safety cues and notes. And it just feels like I said, like being able to go into a closet built just for me, and whether I need a hug, whether I need to be cursed out and told about myself, whether I need some love, whether I need somebody to tell me that is not the outfit of the day, or somebody to, you know, pat me on my back and tell me that I'm doing good. Like Black women gonna do that every time, 10 toes down. And I feel like every day waking up knowing that, like it don't matter how much one Black girl pisses me off, I know that it's gonna be another one that's gonna make me smile that day. So it's just, I don't know, it just feels like perpetual community for me.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Paradise Paris and Hope Giselle mentioned. So as someone who grew up with two sisters, I would say being a Black woman is like an ongoing, never-ending sisterhood, right? Like it's no matter where you go, and it's global, right? Not just within the US, you have these group of people who you're gonna fight with, you're gonna bicker with, you're not always gonna see eye to eye, but like at the end of the day, there's this like undercurrent and underlying like love for one another that we all have. And that love, it almost feels, it's not necessarily unconditional, but there's just this sense that like you can get support in whatever you need. Like I know no matter where I am, what I need, I can always count on some Black girl somewhere to have my back and to make sure that I get through. And it's the way I feel about my sisters, right? Like we're three very different women, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what either one of my sisters need. They know they can come to me and vice versa. So I would say being a Black woman is like having that, but like multiplied with all these different women that you don't know.
Okay. And Winnie.
Well, basically piggybacking off what everybody else said. And I feel like we're very multifaceted. And I love that about us because there's not one section of Black girl. There's different, there's alternative, there's, you know, the nerds, there's the models, there's the jocks. You know what I'm saying? Like I love how we still, like everybody says, as much as we fight and not agree with each other and be coming for each other's lace fronts, we were like, hold on, wait a minute. We know when to show unity. You know what I mean? Even when we're being the most disrespected things in the world. So we are very strong, even though our shoulders are weak at times. So
Okay. So basically, now this is going to be just open. We don't have to go in order anymore. But we spoke on a lot of the positives that y'all see of being a Black woman. What are some of the negatives that come with it?
being labeled.
That was
Never
initially
do.
the first thing that I thought of.
Being
was open.
labeled.
I
Especially
can
when I'm in
tell-
an environment, if I'm in an environment where I'm just like going to a doctor's office and then somebody talks to me in a certain type of way because they assume I'm from somewhere I'm not, and I open my mouth and then they're like, oh, like taken aback. Yeah, I don't like that.
I would say for me, it's definitely the preconceived notion of the behavior. You know, oh, she's gonna be aggressive. Oh, she's gonna be rude. She's going to be. It's almost as if like you don't just find it amongst other cultures or just me. You find it amongst other Black women too. They automatically think if I've never interacted with you before, never engaged, like she's just gonna be so rude to me and she's gonna be disrespectful. And it's like, no, I'm gonna give you respect off the contingency alone that you're a Black woman, and I'm gonna be nice to you. And if you choose to receive that, then great. We can go forward. We can make a connection. If you choose to not, then I'm gonna handle it accordingly.
Period.
I would
feel
say,
She low
No,
key a
go ahead,
gangster,
Hope.
bro.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like it's the fact that there are these boxes, and sometimes I feel like we have to find a box and fit into it. Like, there is no you get to be Erykah Badu, India Arie, Beyonce, and a little bit of Christina Aguilera, like all at one time. Like, you have to like find your lane. So if you're gonna be the girl that's the diva, you're perpetually like the diva auntie that thinks she's better than everybody. Even though, like, bitch, some days I'm not her. Some days I really am India Arie in the backyard picking grapes and fruits and things. And it's just like, why do I have to like always serve just this one type of Black girl in order to be considered legitimate, right? Like, I can't be Megan on Monday and then turn around and be, you know, Hallie or Michelle Obama on Friday, because it's like, oh no, we saw you busting it open. You did. And now I'm busting it open, right? Like,
and did.
and both of those things are okay. So like, I think like for me, like on the judgment tip, that's exactly how I feel. Like, I'm alternative. I am rock. I am sex. I am kink. I'm all of these things. But it's like if I express that to too many different people, then it's, oh, she don't know who she is. She doesn't know what kind of woman she wants to be. She's a chameleon, or oh, she fake. She blend in with whatever group she with at the time. And it's just like, no, these are just different pieces of me that different people serve the energy for. That's all. So
Yes.
yeah.
And adding to that, I would say for me, I think then one of the drawbacks of being a Black woman is that like everybody expects you to be the cleanup woman, right? Like, so you're supposed to support everybody. You're supposed to fix all the ills of the community, the Black community, the US, just everything, right? It's kind of like not showing up. Like, people have questions when you don't show up to be the cleanup woman. Like, how dare you like not show up for me, right? Because that's kind of like the role that you're expected to play in society. So I would say, in addition to like some of the stereotypes and the assumptions, there's also this assumption that like we are there to be the caregivers and caretakers for everybody,
Right.
You know what?
even if it's to our detriment.
I hear you, Zimmy, and I noticed how Hope and Whitney responded to it. And honestly, I don't wear that shoe. I make it my business to prioritize me first, and I make it my business to tell people where my boundaries are as far as respecting the autonomy and respecting my time. I stopped doing that because I feel like a lot of times it comes from conditioning, and it does come from other people's expectation. A lot of times we are taking ourselves into situations where people did not ask for us and putting on that hat and saying, hey, if you need help, come over here. I will serve you. And so I stopped doing that. I stopped trying to show up and be present for everybody. And now I make them communicate if they have their needs. And those needs include me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do that, do you get called aggressive or?
No, I mostly get called aggressive when I am asserting myself and I'm speaking up for myself. That's when I get called aggressive. And I get called aggressive when I'm not agreeing with people. So those two things, but typically, right, like in person, I'm a very little woman. Like I'm just 5'2". I'm just 5'2". So it's not like I don't have that issue more so online than anything, or when I'm on the phone with customer service and it's a woman who don't look like this, well, she's not melanated trying to try me. Then I have to go ahead and like then that's when. Other than
Gather
that,
her.
when
Yeah.
the men, I have been gaslighted by also this colored man trying to, trying to keep me. But as far as like black men and black women, that is not what I get. A lot of times, the only time I get that is when it's with the people who look like the Google backdrop when you get on the homepage.
I ain't never heard it called the Google backdrop.
Google backdrop.
That's
crazy.
wild.
Wild.
That's wild.
And
But
I'm going
like
to
I said,
use
I
it.
am a little woman. I am a very little woman. A lot of times people, they undermine me. They tend to think that they know I'm gonna lack intelligence.
They little kid me.
Before
I'm
I
5'2"
speak.
too.
Yes, they think that I'm gonna lack intelligence, and I do think that has a form to play with pretty privilege because I typically carry a white woman's posterior. I'm busty. So
Period.
initially, y'all know, like that's what they
Right.
like with white women. Like that's their thing, the chest. So if I
She
could be
said,
candid
I'm
about it,
busty.
the aggressiveness only comes out online, right? Because we have all of these caricatures of people who want to be social media influencers and relationship gurus, and they don't know shit. And then we have, the people in public, but I come from a very racist part of the country. So I'm conditioned to understanding that. A lot of times when I'm asserting my boundaries, I'm getting, you ain't got to be like that. Now, you have to say the guilt. They try to emotionally manipulate me into feeling bad because I said no.
Yeah. But also because I don't look my age. So I get little girled a lot. And I'm like, hold on. I'm in my mid-30s, dog. Like
I would not have guessed that. Look at that black man cracking.
Period. Do you hear me? So like, especially like when they try to little kid you and you're like,
I was definitely
been
finna
here
look
for a
at you.
while. I've been here for a while, bro.
Can I ask, like, since you brought up your height, do you feel unsafe in certain environments, maybe as a black woman or as a petite person?
No, I think because we like to fight. So you're scrappy.
Well, she said it like, and this not to discount other women's experiences. I'm not a fearful person. You're gonna have to show me. I don't have that mentality. I'm a gun owner now. I lived in the house with guns.
You heard that, Bam?
Like
Wait.
you can't run up on my mama. Like my mom has she has 5 sisters that live in the city that we live in. Altogether, she has 9 sisters in-house, and then there's a couple more outside. Run up on one of my aunties. I promise you, one of them have a weapon on them. But that's how I was raised. You can't do that to me. I don't accept that. I very much so. I don't welcome confrontation, but I know how to handle it.
Period.
So even with me being little, I as a youth, like I said, people typically take that and they try you. They try to undermine. They try to, basically you the underdog because you're small. Like you're not a threat to people. And so even with the gaslighting or the I don't know, like the little nitpicking, it's very common. Like they don't take me serious until I get serious.
Mm-hmm. I heard whenever y'all were mentioning on the labor that's expected of you. So I'm just curious about that. Do y'all feel like the black community as a whole has your best interest at heart?
No.
As a whole?
No.
Absolutely the fuck not.
No.
Absolutely
No,
not.
we're too disheveled to know what's best for anybody at this point. Like we don't have no way to come together to figure it out for some reason, which I don't understand.
I think that I was gonna say, I think the Black community is okay with the stress, struggle, etc. of Black women if it means the upliftment of like cis Black men, right? Like you can die, you can die for a cis, Black, like they are, because they're supposed to be the pathway to freedom, to like Black liberation, right? The way that these movements have been set up is that like Black men are the pathway and the key to Black liberation, and so like, get down or lay down if you're not willing to support the Black man on his way to like uplifting and freeing the Black community, then like you are really disposable. And I think that Black women get expected to do the labor, but we're actually seen as quite disposable beyond that.
I completely think something else. Absolutely. No, honestly, I think that is the opposite. I absolutely believe that Black women are seen as the catalyst of all things great in the Black community. I do think that in totality, everybody does want Black women to succeed, because if the men are not around, which we've been socialized and we just had a history of them being separated from us, even if they have not left on their own standing, the women will be there. Black women are not the threat. Black men are the threat. So there have been things put into place that separated us from Black men. And so for the Black women who champion to have Black men around, we typically demonize them as if that they are lapdogs, or that they shouldn't support, or that they are some weak individual because they're champion to have their path to freedom around.
Threat to who, though?
Yeah, so
you said it was a threat, but threat to who? Like threat to Black women, or threat to the larger white society?
Threat to other parts of society.
Okay.
So Black men, to me, their protection lies in their intimidation. And a lot of times we only emphasize what it looks like with them in proximity to us. But a lot of times we're talking about Black men as if they haven't been right there along every single struggle and revolution with us. They've been right there the whole time. I have I always say in the Black community, there was always one code. Don't touch women, don't touch children. That's always been one code. And we know that if the Black men are not around, you do everything in your power to attempt to protect the women, because the man may not be there. So I don't see that
That's
way.
not really what Black men do. Are Black men, I'm sorry, like,
Here
I
it
don't
comes.
know that I think that.
Is that a question?
Time to
this
call
a
out
question?
Bam. It's been about time.
because
Let's do it.
I'm struggling with that too, because I feel like there are parts of what Paradise is saying that I'm like, yeah, that resonates, that tracks. I get that. But I'm definitely leaning into Zemi, and I believe like 420 Whitney, when like so based on the question, when it's about like the idea of are the interests of Black women, right, like as a whole, for the whole community, like are they all in sync and are they all in step? And that's like, no, like if we're honest, there are so many people's agendas that come before Black women as it pertains to just the Black community alone. Like fuck humanity, fuck everybody else's struggle. But when it comes down to Black people, I think that Zemi hit the nail on the head when she said that if you are serving the Black man with your Black womanhood or with your Black femininity, then absolutely, my love, then we are all in step. The second that you say, also, King, I need to take a little bit of this mojo we got going on here and talk about bodily autonomy for women over here right fast. That is when all of the rest of that shit goes out of the window. And it's like, those are things that I feel like are interesting and ridiculous at the same time. You want me to come and be your ride or die, right? And I'll take it back to an example that I think that we all have heard at least once in our life. I have to be your ride or die no matter what type of Black man you are. Whether you're the CEO on your way up to becoming a billionaire, or whether you the dope boy trying to move from the middleman to the head guy, right? I'm expected to ride or die for you. And there are conversations that happen on every level of every spectrum of Black man, where they all justify the deprecation or the upliftment of Black women, but only based upon how they are treated in the process. So if the question is solely about whether or not the Black community as a whole is in step with the betterment or with the needs of Black women, most of the time the answer is absolutely the fuck not. Because at the end of the day,
respectfully.
Go
I
ahead.
have to call it out respectfully because, for one, most of the time when you even have women in those predicaments where it's drugs affiliated, the man is taking all the charges and he wanted her to go back home. That bottom line, they're taking all the charges. Secondly, there's a lot of times in the Black community where we base everything, majority of our violence is based off of retaliation. Somebody did something or said something wrong to somebody, mama or their sister or their cousin. And another man went and checked that man about behind that man. And maybe he ended up in jail or maybe he lost his life because of the disrespect that his sister, mama, cousin, girlfriend, whoever was around him experienced. And so he stepped up to the plate. Another thing about that is even when we're talking about how the dynamic of between mothers and sons, we have a huge issue with emotional incest. That is one of the key catalysts. Boys are not only taught to prioritize their mother, they have an inherent respect for women that women are not taught. Initially, when growing up as a Black girl, even me, I come from a 2-parent household, but I have nothing but single women around me. It was always prioritize yourself, get your money, go get an education. That was always the thing. Go get an education. Don't worry about no man. Men will come, boys will come. The idea of dating was so far-fetched as a Black girl. You snuck around with boys. You weren't allowed and championed to deal with boys. You were told you were fast, you were minimized, you were degraded, all for the strength of just having a like, not just an interest, just an attraction, not actually engaging. But when it came to the boys, it was always prided for them to have a romantic interest in anything that they do for a girl that is positive. Anytime he's buying her something, anytime he's doing just something that men should be doing, he's getting praise and rapport for uplifting her. So even when we look at how men act with their mothers versus how men behave with their spouses, even though we understand that there's a disconnect, they inherently are taught to always respect women. We are not taught that. So if we're talking about what the overall consensus of for Black women, that everybody in 3 demographics, right? Sexuality aside, you're talking about Black men, Black women, and this is not cisgendered or other, and you're talking about Black children. When you're talking about those 3 different demographics, the question is, do everybody in the Black community want Black women to succeed? My answer is yes, because everybody in the Black community relies on Black women to succeed.
I would say, I don't think that men in general have been taught to respect women. And I certainly don't think that Black men are an aberration and how men have been taught to relate to women.
Right.
So I think some of what you're describing is men are taught to dominate women. They're taught to objectify and take ownership of women, right? That's why, there's all this rhetoric around like what you can buy your girl and, you're
right.
It's not really about women. It's about how you get to demonstrate or display your dominance and or your masculinity through your to other men through your domination and ownership of women, right? And I don't think we're talking about Black people, so we're going to talk about Black men, but it's not unique, right? This is a byproduct of patriarchy. I get called a misandrist because I think it's wild that Black men sometimes act as if they are immune to patriarchy.
They don't benefit from patriarchy.
They what?
They do not benefit from patriarchy. Sure. Black men cannot benefit from a system that was not created.
Black men absolutely do benefit from patriarchy because they're men, and all men benefit from a patriarchal system. Maybe not in the same way, right? Maybe not in the same way, but all men benefit from
it's still beneficial in some way.
All men will benefit from a system where men are at the head of that society, right? It doesn't look the same for every single man, and I think that's a nuanced conversation to have. But this idea that Black men don't benefit from patriarchy just kind of like flies in the face of like truth and what we know about how societies function. So I don't think that, to go back to the question about are Black women, how are Black women treated, right? I think that Black women are, like Hope said, if you are doing service, right, doing work in the service of Black men, Black masculinity, then you are a woman that's like uplifted. But we can look at how men treat issues that don't have anything to do with them, right? Like you look at the split in the Black community about how we think about like reproductive autonomy, for instance, right? You have like Black men, shout out to the Hoteps, who are like, Planned Parenthood was created so that we can stop depopulate the Black community, right? No thought about like how Black women have historically, since chattel slavery, been denied of reproductive autonomy. Black women literally had zero reproductive autonomy under a system of chattel slavery. There's no connection between that for Black men who are espousing this kind of anti-reproductive autonomy rhetoric, right? So when you look at women's issues that maybe fly counter to Black men's needs, that's when you really get a sense of how Black women are valued. And we're just not, at least not by Black men.
I found it very interesting that when the question was posed, you immediately like sectored into a gender war. And I found that quite interesting. And then it's more so of like insinuating that men in general are not taught like the act of the dominance cannot be correlated with the act of protection, or even with the idea of gifting. That's courtship. That's essentially traditionalism. That's basically what it is. But you use the word dominance, and that comes off as a negative connotation. When if it was a woman who was saying he buys me things, then you would be saying he cared about me, or he was expressing your acts of service, gift giving. It's a lot of nuances in the conversation, because when you're talking about it from a different dynamic and it's based off of who is saying it, it becomes a threat versus acceptance. So if it was a man saying he was giving you a gift, right, now you're saying, oh, he's trying to dominate me. But if it was a woman requesting the gift and she's expecting it from the man as basic her standard, now you're saying this is him expressing his gratitude. This is him showing me appreciation. This is an act of service. But in regards to the whole entirety of the question, when I think of Black men, are there some Black men who absolutely have no respect and no moral regard for Black women? Absolutely. But even then, we're talking about, for me, I'm talking about the three demographics. Other Black women, most Black women can tell you that they've had a terrible experience when it comes to working with Black women, and they've had terrible friendship experiences, whether she slept with someone behind their back, whether she slandered her character, whether she's been assaulted by another Black woman. We saw Kanika Jenkins. And then when you talk about Black children, right? Those are people who heavily rely on Black women to make the whole dynamic of the Black community function, especially since we are having a very difficult time accepting that we are a matriarchy. And even with that being said, I have to say that when we talk about coons and we talk about degenerates, the normal people in between are the masses. The normal people absolutely want to see Black women succeed, even if they don't agree with everything that Black women do.
I think that what I heard Zemi doing just now, and Zemi, you're feel free to jump in. But what I felt like I heard was it was in rebuttal to that statement. I don't think that was necessarily Zemi giving her opinion about the entirety of the question, but it was in response to that statement, because I think I was getting ready to go there as well, which is the idea of why those men do those things that you were naming in your examples, right? It is not necessarily saying like, oh, they want women to win because they are doing all of these things that feel inherent, right? What we do know is that these things are taught by cishet Black men and some Black women in the act of portraying masculinity, which has nothing to do with the protection of women, right? Or the betterment or the uplifting of women and things that have that contribute to our happiness and our happiness alone. So I think the point that Zemi and even myself are trying to make is that when we hear the question, what I think we are hearing is, when it comes down to what women want, what women need, the betterment of women, and most things that are going to help to push the agenda of what Black women need outside of the Black relationship, the relationship to a man, the Black marriage, whatever the case may be. If we are talking about whether the Black community, and I think that in this particular question, we have to ex-nay the kids, because if you ask most kids, of course they're going to say, I need my mommy, right? Like
Right.
most kids are going to say that. But when we are having a conversation amongst adults, and I think that this narrows it down, men and women, a lot of Black women, like you named, Paradise, is that they're gonna either have one or two things. I've had a great experience with most Black women. I've had a negative one. Most Black men, if they have not had a woman that has been in a space of servitude and wanting to be a second coming of his mother, are going to say that they've had a negative experience, which then falters the way that they vote for the experiences that have nothing to do with them. When it comes down to the bodily autonomy of women, if it's not about her being able to shake their ass in his face at Magic City or whatever the case may be, they don't care.
As long as they
When
don't
it comes-
care.
When it comes down to the idea of abortion rights and all that stuff, the only reason that they've been boisterous about this conversation is because Hope Teps have told them that it's about the eradication of the Black family. But if they had different numbers and somebody else giving them different information, they would not care. When it comes down to the ways in which Black women are talking about how we're being fired from our job because of hairstyles, when it comes down to the idea of what happens to the fact that the numbers of Black women dying during pregnancy are going up, when it comes down to the idea of, for hell, bring back our girls. Where the fuck are our girls? When there are issues that are specific to Black women, Black men are significantly quieter than when there are issues that have anything to do with a Black men. That is when you see the fullness of the community stand up and I eradicate the children, but also even the children are brought in to those things. But when you talk about the idea of how many people stand up when it is solely about a Black woman getting some shit for Black women, it is not the same. So I think that was the correlation that was being made.
Give me an example where you have seen where Black men are not present to show up. And I know we're talking about the reproductive system, et cetera, et cetera. I can't even include the medical form of that because it's so much interracial, it's so much racial biases in that. I don't even think that that's a fair point, especially because Black people don't even dominate the medical industry. So can you provide?
I'll give you an example. Yeah,
Please.
I mean, so a great example would be what happened with the school to prison pipeline and its impact on Black girls versus Black boys, right? So there were a number of initiatives that was supported by the entire Black community, Black women and men, about there's something happening in these schools where our young boys, young Black boys, are being referred or directly transferred into the juvenile justice system, which then trickled further down the line. It leads to them having contact with the adult criminal legal system. At the same time this was happening, there was something very similar happening for Black girls. Black girls are also impacted by the school to prison pipeline, but then there's also this abuse to prison pipeline that happens for young Black girls, right? Nobody showed up for that. Right. There's a couple of Black women academics who are constantly talking about it, but there are no widespread initiatives like My Brother's Keeper, right? That was introduced by
5,000 role models.
I mean, we can go down the list. And it's not just Black men who show up for these initiatives. It's the entire community who shows up. When people say, wait a minute, those same schools, Black girls they're experiencing some shit in those schools. It's like, there's just not enough time. There's not enough resources. Or the worst one is it's a distraction, right? When Black women raise their issues, this is a distraction from Black liberation. So we can go down the list about the number of ways in which Black women will show up for Black men, but when the same is asked in return,
crickets.
So I was gonna just add to this. I think this is super interesting, the split that we're having here. Because we can see this through history, right? When we're talking about Black men's distance from the patriarchy, right, and the desire to get closer, we see this even when it comes to voting, right? There was a point in time where there was a convention, literally a convention between leading Black men academics and white women, looking to get the vote. But there was a split in that convention because all of a sudden Black men were getting that attention. The political winds were going in their direction. And then they forgot about those white women. And remember, Black women weren't even there at all. They were just not even part of the conversation. But the drive for Black men to get closer and to imitate what they see in white society, that's a thing that people have been talking about for forever. But on the other hand, I really was fascinated by what Paris had to say, talking about a matter of perspective and the things that were how black masculinity is performed, and that how that is often looked at as protection, right? Where one person could say it's domination, other person say, well, this is protection. So I'm loving this split. So I would like to hear more about that. So Paris?
Well, I would say in regards to the whole prisoner pipeline thing, again, we're talking about white supremacy. So that's an umbrella effect of what's happening. But the reason as to why, and we don't emphasize that to Black women specifically, is because of the fact that not that is a distraction or anything, it's because it's not a major issue. It's less than 4% of women who are jailed. Like it's not a mass catalyst of women going down this prison to pipeline center where it's having a rapid effect on the community to the point where, oh my gosh, there's like a genocide on the women in regards to prison. There's a genocide on the women in regards to violence or, that particular sector, because that is not a common thing for women to be inherently violent or be violent in a way where it replicates to everyone and people are fear-mongered from being around women. It's not something that socially exists.
Is that including the women who like just take charges for their man too, though? Like that percentage? Because I know a lot of women who take charges.
Also,
Okay, so that percentage.
That's something totally different, right? Because at that point, then it wouldn't be a prison to pipeline situation. Like
it's the abuse.
At that point, that would be socialization. That would be the inherent way that women are taught to champion for a man. That's what that would be. That's not the same thing as the prison to pipeline situation, because what we see in the actual school system is the disparages of Black boys, how they're positioned directly in back of the class as opposed to being in front, how they're always given more disciplinary actions as opposed to the other children, including the Black girls, how they're always characterized in a certain negative connotation, and the teachers don't take time to actually accept helping them with their education. They have the least likely education. Most Black men are reading on an 8th grade level. Most Black men are the least likely to, graduate. We're talking about academia. We're talking about a widespread of things. If you're talking about prison to pipeline, that has nothing to do with a 22-year-old girl sitting in a car with a 29-year-old man holding dope on her.
But isn't that like some sort of emotional abuse has to play with?
No,
play
so look.
Wait, Whitney, you got to point out first
Okay.
because she hasn't said in a minute.
Hold on, wait, huh?
I'm sorry.
I was just saying Whitney hadn't said nothing in a second.
Wait, hold on. I ain't said nothing at all in 40 minutes. Like,
okay.
Hold on.
Spicy.
Hold on, I ain't said nothing in 40 minutes. So hold on.
You better cook, my king, cook.
Hey, look, I let y'all get y'all stuff off, man, and I appreciate everybody's thoughts on everything. But as far as those women are concerned, like I don't feel like that. Like Paris was saying, that's not a similar situation, because when you look at Black men and the rate of charges and how they get their said charges, it's not even close. The percentages are not even fair, and you can go year by year by year till you get all the way back to civil rights. It's not even close.
I'm not even picking a side.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying it was close.
No, but I know. No, I'm saying it's a fact. It's a fact.
Yeah,
you can know.
But what I was saying is,
I'm serious.
It was a question. What I was asking is,
I know.
Can I actually just jump in here?
Wait. I'm gonna let you get back in.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you get back in. Like it's not even close, because I'm talking about you go federally, you go state by state. There's no state. I dare you to find me a state where the women and Black men number are even close. It's not even amongst children jailed. It's not close. I don't want us to lose focus on why that is the way it is. No. So listen, they systematically set us up this way. It's not now. I'm not saying like, oh man, like we should disregard women or that Black men shouldn't show up for women. I'm just saying that it's so bad that people were like, yo, we need to fix it. It was that bad. No, it was that bad. Yeah, it was on. Yes, it's on them. Yes, it's on them. It's exactly on them, because Black men are directly their direct threat. We're the direct threat. At the end of the day, we're the direct threat.
Well, can I just clarify a couple of things really quick? Hold on. Let me just clarify. So I said I was a sociologist at the start of this. I should have led by saying I actually am a criminologist. I specifically study the criminal justice system. And so we do have to talk in fact, and what some of you have said is just not what we know factually. So one, Yes, you're correct. The overwhelming majority of people who are incarcerated are men. 93% of incarcerated people are men. Only 7% are women. But if we were to look at raw numbers and say, oh, well, it's just a small group. Well, most Black men aren't incarcerated. Most people in the US aren't incarcerated, right? It's only about 2 million people on an annual basis that are incarcerated out of 360 something million. So what we're really interested in is proportions. We're interested in, compared to their proportion in the population, are
Right.
Black men being incarcerated at a disproportionate rate? The answer is yes. Similarly, what we're interested in when it comes to women is, are Black women being incarcerated at a disproportionate rate? So while women only make up 7% of people who are incarcerated, Black women are disproportionately incarcerated relative to their proportion in the US population. That's why it's an issue. And Black girls actually are far more disproportionately referred to the juvenile justice system, adjudicated in the juvenile justice system, and detained as minors, right? So we can't get into this thing about, well, we don't care about it, or it's not the reason why these initiatives didn't happen for Black women was because it was a small number. Well, by that argument, it's a small number of people who are incarcerated, right?
Well, no,
I wasn't saying a
So
small. I wasn't
let's-
saying a small number. I was saying
So
that I was saying the temporary effects of
I
said
just-
thing. It got out of pocket.
Let me
It
also
got out of control. Go ahead.
Hold on. Let me also just add that the ways in which women interact with the justice system are also different. So one of the ways in which Black women get surveilled is through these ancillary institutions like child welfare services. Black women are consistently being criminalized and penalized when it comes to CPS and CWS, right? But most Black people don't know anything about that. We could tell you everything about how Black men get tracked into the
Black
justice
women
system.
know, they
So
just don't call it that. They
let me
don't
just
call getting reported.
let me
on
just end by
criminalization.
let me just end by saying this. I think some of you all's points actually speak to the fact that because we prioritize Black men, we actually don't know anything about how Black women end up in the criminal justice system and what the impacts are. You all can spot off all of these things about how Black men came to be in the justice system, its impact. But when we get into, okay, well, let's talk about women, it's a lot of like lack of information. That's actually Hope Giselle.
Can we hear
Whitney's
from
point.
Whitney? Can we? Whitney was trying. You tried to say something previously, Whitney, right?
Oh no, that's what she basically said. What I was saying, because that's what she said, that 4%, and it made me think like, okay, well, does that include like the women who have been like probably locked up because of CPS for no reason, or does that include the women who's emotionally and mentally abused by their man for doing stuff for them and going to jail? That was my question, basically. But
here's
to
the
sum it
thing,
up,
right? We know that there are a wide range of why people get locked up. It is disingenuous to assume that Black women are not wrongfully, incarcerated the same way Black men are. I think the disconnect here is that people not necessarily are not giving focus to it, or institutions are not putting money towards it. It's the fact that it does not happen as such a great catastrophic manner. And I'm so happy that you did say you study criminology, because I studied political science with a concentration in pre-law, and of course, definitely worked in the criminal justice system. So of course, all these things that we pay attention to, aside from my environment, I've been dealing with the juvenile system, been dealing with the criminal justice system for quite some time, and systematic things that oppress not only Black men, but Black women. Black women are aware that they get reported on, which is why they handle things in a certain manner. They do their paperwork, they check up on it. The other things that affect us disproportionately from Black men, I don't think that they are fair comparisons, because we look at Black men, and even when you look at Black women are disproportionately locked up in accordance to white women, right? But as in regards to men, we're still under them. So this is not something that's affecting Black people in mass so much to the point where we go, wait a minute, this needs to be looked at. More times often than not, if a Black woman is being incarcerated, more times often than not, we know that there was probably a crime committed, as opposed to Black men, which we keep seeing almost every year. they are getting exonerated left and right for false precedent charges way back through the crime bill and right before. We see this as a constant rate, that this is affecting the community. This is removing men from the house. This is removing the idea of education. This is removing men from the workforce system that we can use and that we can benefit from within the community. That's not happening at such a grandiose rate with the women, which is why it's not like a high priority, because we can absolutely assume there was a crime committed and they actually did it. Because the same way you guys are saying that men benefit off of patriarchy, we also benefit off the privilege of being a woman. There's an innocence with being a woman.
Okay, I'm not picking a side either way. Just like a couple things, it's not shocking that like men in general are going to be in prison at high rates. Or like men are more violent. I think over 90% of violent crime is committed by men generally. I think they always try to quote 50% as black men. So like I can understand like we're going to be in prison at high rates. On the other side of that, it is just because I saw the statistic today and it shocked me. Like 1 in 3
like
black men.
1 out of 7 men who are black will have a run-in with at least a misdemeanor.
Well, 1 in 3 will actually do federal time. They'll have a felony in their lifetime, and that seemed high to me. I was like 1 in 3, but that was ridiculous. But again, I'm not flipping aside. That was just something that was interesting to me. Y'all can continue, or I can switch to something lighter.
I think the other thing that kind of struck me a bit weird was like you guys talking about like the Hotep guys. Like, yeah, okay, they're like this really small like percentage of dudes that like no matter what any dude or woman tries to tell them, they will not listen. Like they're in their own basket. Just like every community has their crazies, Hotep is our own little box of black crazy. Like, and we just gotta agree, like, we're not gonna fix them. Like everybody has their own. No, everybody has their own group of people that you're just not gonna fix. And I'm okay with just pushing Hoteps to the side. Like, hey, we're not gonna fix them.
Yeah, but
we're not gonna fix them. No, because when you look at they have a fundamental misunderstanding.
Ranges of black people that we like to assume. The Hoteps are a very small community of men. And they do not have as much impression on people, because if they were able to, then they would be controlling a lot of what people idealize. They love to talk about women's looks. They love to talk about how we eat. They love to talk about how the children should be raised. They have a very much so like almost to a degree, they want all women in the house with them, like polygamy. Like they're definitely a dynamic. All men don't subscribe to that. All black
you wanted to say something?
Hoteps do not have a wide range of no, they don't.
Can we hear from Hope? You really want to say something?
I'm tripping because I'm like, what do y'all mean? Oh, there's this small group you do realize that small group made one man very motherfucking famous and very fucking rich in under a year, right? Like that small group of people are the very group of people that have turned people with nothing on their platform into millionaires overnight because
what man?
So you gonna really sit here and act like you don't know who Dr. Umar is? You really gonna
right?
Like you didn't
So listen. Let's get his sideways scamming ass out, like on the side. Like we know what he does.
Not too much on Dr.
Umar. But the thing is, like the same way that there are Dr. Umars, there are Derek Jacksons, there are Steve Harveys, there are all of these other men, right? Whether they have a credible reputation or not, that have a very much so popular fan base that make them, grow.
What's the thread? What's the thread that runs through all of them?
Right. But my thing is, don't move the
fact that they're black men that have different likes, different interests. When I think about Dr. Umar, he's nothing like Steve Harvey at all.
But
okay, can
I just very quickly. Just very quickly.
No,
like I just hold on.
Maybe...
Smooth, 1 second. Just very quickly. Like I just like that's not how like political ideas are propagated, right? It's not just like you have to be a member of a group to believe in that. Right, so Hoteps have their whole list of ideals, but that doesn't mean that these things aren't proliferated in the community. And I think what the other ladies are trying to say is that while most black men don't consider them Hoteps, that doesn't mean they don't have Hotep-like ideas. That doesn't mean that if you quiz them on their beliefs and their interactions with women, you won't find some Hotep-type beliefs. So maybe not focus on the Hotep thing in itself, but more the larger conversation about how black masculinity and interacts with black femininity.
Okay, Prime.
Can I
Okay,
give
Prime.
an example of
Then
that?
Go ahead.
yeah,
Can I
go
give an
ahead. Go ahead,
example
Jimmy,
just
and then
really
I'll
quick?
go. Go ahead.
So I'm going to use all the people that Paradise named, right? You named Steve Harvey,
Derek Jackson,
Umar, and Derek
Dr.
Jackson. Umar Johnson, I think people forget this. When he first started out, he used to go around giving speeches about how if Black women would abstain from sex, they used to be like these abstinence speeches. I've been listening to him for quite some time, right? So he's had different grifts. His first grift was the abstinence grift about how the problem with the Black community was that Black women are too promiscuous, and really Black women need to abstain from having sex with these Black men, and that's going to lead to the upliftment of the Black community.
Can we see him
So let me when I said what's the threat, then we have Steve Harvey who act like a man, whatever
Think like a man, act like a woman.
Yes, whatever that book was called, right? Hits Black women the like, you know what the problem with you is? You're sleeping with men too fast, right? You really need to like wait 90 days because that's how you get a husband and that's how you go on to have the Black family. Then we have, and mind you, none of these men are actually living these lives, right? Then we have Derek Jackson. Listen to video after video. It's about like not being promiscuous, being a good Black man, a good Black woman. So to go to Prime and
whole point was to talk about men. It never focused
Wait,
on
you
women.
let her finish the point though.
So to go back to Hope, he did talk about women. So to go back to Hope's point and to Prime's point, Hoteps is just like a term we use to describe a certain type of Black conservatism, Black male conservatism that certainly runs beyond Umar Johnson. So it's a bit unfair to point to someone who's that far out and be like, oh, he's a joke, he's a clown. But like his ideology, the threads of it, you can see in a Derek Jackson, you can see in a Steve Harvey, right? Like you can see in a lot of the prominent Black male figures. I think that's what we're trying to get at, right?
Okay.
That ideology isn't just deduced down to Black male figures, though. That's also something that we can see as far as like feminism, misandry, all these other things. Like you don't have to actually, to Prime's point, you don't actually have to subscribe to these things to attach yourself to these ideologies.
Okay, so I do want to ask the question of let's define what is a hotep, because I think a lot of people are misdefined into a category that they're probably not even fully subscribed to, and I think it's unjust and unfair to put somebody in a category they don't fully subscribe to. If they're fully subscribed to it, then sure, you're a member of that society. But if you're not fully subscribed to it and you just happen to share like one or two ideologies,
so what are you, a half tep?
That doesn't make
like you can't be a half tep.
No,
man.
no, but no, it's not even about being a half tep. It's just like, oh, you have one thing that you agree with these people on. You're now a hotep. That doesn't make sense.
Not what
That's not
no. I know. I gave that as an extreme example, but I'm not saying that's the example. Like, don't be disingenuous.
Than dealing with Joe Biden. Nobody really liked the crime bill for Black people, but all of a sudden everybody was voting for him because he was going to erase student loans. So it's literally that type of idea. So you're not necessarily subscribing to that particular party. You're not necessarily a Democrat, and you're not necessarily a Joe Biden supporter. But because they have this one thing that you can get on board with, all of a sudden, you're being attached to that you support this idea, and that's not necessarily so. I thought Trump was a funny president. I didn't think he was a good president.
That doesn't negate what Zemi just said, though. Like, literally, y'all agreed with what the statement that she was saying. Two things can be true at one time. And then I think Prime came in to make even more sense of that by saying that at the end of the day, this is about the ideology, right? We recognize that we stretching it a little bit for this conversation, but because everybody here is Black, we would assume that y'all would understand that what we're saying is that you don't necessarily have to be a hotep, right? For us to like group you into that when we're having conversations around hotep nigga behavior, right?
Well,
just like
that, because if that's the case, right, then we're basically using the wrong terminology to apply to a certain dynamic of people, and that's what we can't. We literally started this off with talking about how people box Black women in. And when you're using that hotep dynamic just to perpetuate an ideology into the conversation, you're doing the same thing. You're boxing.
But it's not about my thing is we all understand when we say, oh, like when we say, oh, I want to get ratchet like a black girl, there's a bunch of different ways to be ratchet, but we understand that there's a definition for the most, like for the baseline behavior.
One thing, shaking my ass, smoking and drinking.
Once again, that is, but also that is baseline behavior, because for you that might be ratchet. For another girl, that's an average Friday night, right? So
Friday.
No, but she's averagely ratchet all the time. Then she's always ratchet. Like what are we talking about?
Smoking, drinking, shaking ass. That is ratchet. Like
so.
When
But my thing is, so why can we classify those activities, but we can't do the same thing when we say hotep? Y'all can picture a nigga with 3 different characteristics,
right?
And stick them in that box, right? Well, so I feel like right now we're being willfully obtuse.
So
I feel like we're being willfully obtuse right now, because it's like
that's all I said.
Yeah,
All I said is picking and choosing, and
So we can
he's essentially saying, oh, this ideology doesn't necessarily make you a hotep. Smooth acts define the hotep. We're not defining the hotep. We're letting you know, even though that small group of people has a huge sector of one person that they have castrated and made very influential, that could be the same as Nicki Minaj and her fan base, or Beyonce and their fan base. We still know that that's a very small group of people. That does not speak for the masses.
You want me to read the definition? You want me to read the definition?
You don't make me know, dear.
Okay. Oh no, and I'm not trying to correct you or anything. I'm just saying because I don't know much of hotep except for I guess the stereotype of what a stereotype is. I mean was, right? So looking it up, it just says an Afrocentrist African American subculture that focuses on ancient Egypt as a source of Black pride. That makes sense. You can call me a hotep then, because that's a lot of where my spirituality reigns from, but I don't. Well, like you said, I don't subscribe to all of it, so I guess I'm a half tap.
You can't call me a hotep because hoteps are misogynistic.
Very much so.
Like,
but if you look at the classic definition of it, I would say, But if you look at the reality of it, you'd be like, nah.
Exactly.
Like, they took it in.
And if you're asking for more specificity, we can just like name the things that we were talking about, right? So talking about Black conservative ideology, we can talk about those misogynistic tendencies that we're referring to. And like, if you guys just want to keep hoteps out of the conversation, that's as simple as that.
No, I'm gonna call them hoteps because we all know what a hotep is.
No. I would no.
Wait, I just feel like we get too deep into hoteps.
I would prefer if we just left them where they are, because to me for the people that I met that I define as hoteps, like I put them in their own box and I've always left them there. I don't even associate or deal with them.
This is like
I don't even associate or deal with them.
But Smooth, it's because you think you're different. And what if I challenged you and said perhaps you're not that different? Then like
go ahead.
Right,
go ahead. No. Let's do this. Let's do this exercise. Go ahead.
That's perhaps like where the tussle and the struggle
go ahead.
is, right?
Let's do this.
Like,
Let's do this. You'll be surprised.
We like to think of these people as these like super out there aberrations because they come out and they say like the most extreme version. But like we as Black people, for instance, we understand that people can espouse white supremacist ideals without like running around calling people niggers, right? Like Donald Trump don't have to come on TV and be and call us all the N-word
right,
for us to know that he's like a white supremacist, right? So we can't look at the most extreme version of something and say, because I don't fit into that, I don't espouse these other ideals and ideologies, right? So yeah, they're not a small group of people. We're not going to put them to the side. Yeah, the verbiage, hotep, whatever you want to call it, but it's a lot of Black men. It's a lot of y'all.
Yeah.
Have very similar ideas.
So Zimmy, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. No.
So wait a minute, hold on.
I just don't feel like this is
No. Bam.
Personally, I think you missed it. It's not you you're like a stand-in. What I'm saying is people have this desire to distance themselves and be like, nah, them hoteps be wildin', they tripping. I'm not like them niggas, but you are like them niggas, right? And that's the part we really, because if we act like it's just Umar in them, then we never get to the. I'm never gonna interact with an Umar. I'm never gonna interact with Tariq, but I am going to interact with Smooth, Bam, and Prime. So I'm not going to treat you all like you all are that far away from what them niggas is doing, because quite frankly, it tends to be like pretty much the same.
See how she threw me in
And,
there?
and, and
But no,
Smooth,
but that- no,
and
but
Smooth,
that's-
I'll
no, but that's
challenge
the
you. I'll
problem.
challenge
No,
you
but that's the problem.
myself, though,
There's
Smooth.
a broad assumption
Maybe not
of what a
Prime.
We're
hotep
not
is,
gonna
which
talk
is
30
why
minutes
I
about
started.
what a hotep is.
Which is
It's
why I
just
started with the
say,
asking what the definition
I'm
was.
out of
Smooth.
here. I gotta-
I'll challenge
you're
you.
just broadly putting people in a
Hold on,
box. bro.
hold on,
I'm not.
Smooth.
I'm not taking it personal at all.
Smooth. I'll challenge you though, right? Like we've had,
ahead.
because on Thursdays we have all black everything on my channel. Check it out, right?
Sure.
But we've had like yelling matches between you and me about like black women's sexuality. We've talked about that. And how like you were talking to your friends and oh, they've done grimy shit, and I'd like told them, oh, don't do this grimy shit. And basically you were saying that they should feel guilty about like taking charge of their sexuality. That was a big fight between you and me, right? And it's not to say that you're a
Are you
hotep.
sure you were talking to me that night?
I was absolutely talking to you. There was no doubt
No,
about that.
no, no,
We
no,
had
no,
this
no.
conversation.
No, no,
but like
no,
the
no,
point
no,
is
no.
that like I'm not like saying that you are a bad person. I'm not saying that you're a hotep. I'm not trying to like put you in the box. The only point that these ladies are trying to say is that there's this like level of black conservative ideology that infiltrates our population. I'm sure even me, right? I'm sure if someone interviewed me, there'd be some of that in me. And you know I'm a big ass leftist, right? So like it's just the way it is being a man in America.
So I wanted to like I said, I think
Nah.
this was really interesting, but we just don't need to have a 30-minute discussion on proving the hotep. Like I want to keep it
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So-
Go ahead, Bam.
Though I guess switch it to like a slight kind of a different topic. I want you to answer this, y'all to answer this personally, and then expand it to like black women generally. Do you find it difficult dating as a black woman, and if so, why?
Can I start this off?
Yeah.
I haven't dated since 2018 because I'm married. So
You.
if I had to go personal though, from when I was out in these streets, horrible. As personally and my experience with black men, because that's all I really wanted to be with. I never got chosen to be the girlfriend, but I was ready to be the fuck buddy. So I never got taken seriously. A lot of people outside of black men wanted to court me and wanted to do all these things for me, but I was like, no, I want a black man. So it was harder to find mine, I feel like. But as in general, as a black woman, we get overlooked, we get talked down upon, like always, and it's always the preference argument when in all reality we all know what you're really trying to say. So
Okay. Anyone else? Like I said, just like you're like so you can speak on your personal experience and then generally, like you don't have to go too deep. Just how do
Yeah, you don't have to name his name, right?
Jaquan from third grade. No.
Dating as a black woman is hard. Dating as a misandrous. I mean, there's a couple of things, right? Like dating as a upwardly mobile, maybe highly educated black woman is difficult, not for the reasons that women often like state, or like, oh, I just can't find anyone who matches me, right? Like not for those reasons, but because like my I'm not with the shits, right? Like I'm not with you can't just like talk to me any kind of way. You can't hit me with any kind of misogyny. You can't dominate me, and I'm not financially dependent, right? Like so it introduces a set of challenges as a black woman who is solely interested in dating black men, because I think that black men are oftentimes not used to dating black women like me, right? Like I think that black women get socialized to be like really nurturing, really caring, to prioritize black men. And so like when they run into somebody who's like, nah, no, what you just did right there was some misogynistic bullshit and we gonna talk about it, that's a challenge. Right. If you it's added to the all the other challenges, right? All the other ladies are gonna name about dating as a black woman.
Well, I haven't dated in 5 years either because I'm engaged. But but I think my experience is layered and leveled too, because I was dating as a Black trans woman, and that shit was extra and all types of stuff, and it was aggravating to my whole soul, because you had the folks that I think a lot of my annoyance was twofold, because I was being chosen because I wasn't like the rest of the girls, but then I was being fetishized because I wasn't like the rest of the girls. So essentially, I was being chosen for the same reason. You just didn't realize it until you realized it. And that was really annoying. It was because it was just like, oh, I didn't know. Then you told me, and then you actually act like a woman. You're ladylike. Like when you get in here, I don't peep these other pieces that I peep when I've been with other women. But it all just boils down to this idea of treating me like a sexual object. And that was if I could find one at all. And I'm very much so like you all. Like I think I went through my phase just because of the trauma of like not wanting to deal with Black men. But I recognized that when I wasn't dealing with Black men, trying to deal with other people, it was even worse because they didn't understand the socialization of being a Black trans woman.
Yeah.
So they wanted to do and go and be and touch and da 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 and all of the things. And I'm like, we can't, not here. And not because I'm ashamed, but just because like these people could cause harm to us because of this, right? Like this neighborhood is not for that. So it was just really, really difficult. And especially being a Black trans woman that is so public about my transness. Like there are plenty of men that wanted to, but they was just like, oh, but you too open. So I can't even be seen with you because everybody knows that you're trans. Like, and I've even had people who have told me like, why don't I just like shut up about the trans part because I have the ability to shut up about it and nobody would know and then it would be fine. And it's just like, I don't want to. I fought too hard for this shit. Like, why do I need to like suppress?
Let me be me who I am. Let me be who I am, period.
Like I didn't do all of this to go around and be like, like, bitch, this was hard work. Like I had to like really make some difficult decisions and lose some valuable people in becoming myself. So I'll be damned if I'm gonna like let you tell me we're gonna suppress this in order to like for you to give me a ring or for you to make me comfortable. Like that's just not gonna happen. So I think I'm happy that the dating is over, but it was trash. I think just for different reasons. I didn't have an issue finding Black men. I had an issue finding Black men that valued me.
Did you end up partying with a Black man? Just curious.
My man Black.
Okay.
Black.
Right.
I would say for me, first and foremost, congratulations, Hope, on your engagement, future wife. And I do think, in my personal opinion, that aside from men who are serial, like R-worders, the worst type of man is the down low man. That is the most weak and dangerous man to everybody around. They are the scariest people to me, aside from white people.
Okay.
I'll agree with that.
In my experience, the last 3 years have been good to me. I like my little person.
She made her blush.
That man is 6'5". He is not a little person. But I should say now that I would say the drawback, and I think this is something that I've always experienced. I will say that men have always loved the idea of who I could be. They don't really get to know me. They don't really get to see me. Now, I can honestly say that in my majority of my experiences, except for maybe 2, and I was young in those, and I didn't actually understand half the shit that I was doing. So I take a little bit of accountability for that, but not the accountability for them being trash to me.
Period.
I don't have an issue with being a kept woman. Most times I get men who are very comfortable with me, who are always asking me about my mental health, always checking for me. And this is my experience. I cultivate a relationship with them that a lot of them tend to want to keep. I have to cut them off a lot of times and, just stop for whatever reasons. But in my experience, even now, even with my current I just like him.
Your boo thing. Go ahead, say it. Boyfriend.
That's my man.
Yes, my man.
My man.
I do love him so much sometimes. But, and I keep saying sometimes because he gets on my nerves. But I can say that I am now getting, even with me not being available, a lot of men who are trying to overextend themselves. They want to show me who they are. They
Shoot to
want
shoot.
to like cater to me. They want to, yeah, they shoot hard, you know. And I do think that the widespread of my platform has drawn that. But I also be looking at them kind of how Zenny be looking at them like, you are not a man that I would let
Right.
have children with me. You are not a man that I would let lead me. You are not a man that I would conform to. You are not a man that I
Mhm.
want to do life with. And I don't even want to be in the same social network with you because
Period.
of how you think.
Period.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I mean,
And honestly, I feel like before I did get married, and my husband finally took me seriously, and then when my exes saw that he took me seriously and who I, because I became a kept woman. I was a single mom before, and now I'm a kept woman. I'm still a little harder, that's hard, but like literally, when I tell you, it's like they're coming out of the woodworks like roaches, and I'm like, where were them antennas at when I was out on the curb, when I was a free
Roaches.
woman? Now that I'm, locked in, now you
Same.
want to come say something? Nah.
Same.
gotta
I
go.
had that same experience, and it was so crazy because prior to, I was in college. You know, I was kind of like, always available. I was always like, hey, I can be your girlfriend if you need me to. Just let me know.
I'm here.
After I had left a very terrible situation in college, and that's probably the one that stands out to me the most. Like, even he and he was very, very terrible person to me. A lot of things I allowed. A lot of times I should have left when I knew I should have left. But even then, he came back and he still felt like he had some form of privilege to me. And I don't play that. I'm very big on my respect. I'm very big on my boundaries. And I'm very big on where you stand in my life. If I close the door and you do not have access anymore, you don't get to pick it up and put me down like I'm a toy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say one of the hard parts is like, so shockingly, I'm a Christian.
Praise
Because
God.
most people expect me to be like, I was raised, I'm Nigerian, raised like extremely religious, not religious like that anymore, but still identify with the faith. And so one of the things that I would say was hard for me dating, especially when I was younger, dating men who also were Christian. Which isn't something I require now, but like when I was younger, I was like, oh, we're gonna, be Christian and have
Christian babies.
kids, and yeah. But was like, I didn't agree with any of the tenets or ideology, right? So like when men, come into conversations talking about leadership, like, women needing to be led, I'm not lost. Like, my conversation, where am I going? And why don't I get to have my say in where we're going? Like, why do you think I need to be led by anybody? Right? Or this idea of submission, like I don't consider men to be the big S word. I don't consider men to be a higher authority or higher power than me. So I don't feel any need to like defer to any man, right? Like I have a brain, it functions. I have been making great decisions for myself all 35 years, right? So like I don't want to be in a situation where someone feels like I have to like defer to them in terms of like decision making. Like, and so one of the things that was difficult was, really wanting a partner, right? Like I'm not interested in submitting to anyone. I'm not interested in being anyone's neck. Like I have a head, you have a head. We could put our two heads together and make something happen. I mean, the neck, the I'm the neck, he's the head. It kills me.
It's crazy.
I know.
It's crazy.
I can't stand when people say that. But shout out to the necks. It's not any like insult to you. But yeah, so it was hard, right? Like it was really hard dating as like a young, very left-leaning, very liberal Black feminist Christian who wanted to date other Black Christians. And but I've come a long way in my beliefs and my faith, and so that's not necessarily a requirement for me anymore. So that has made dating a lot easier.
It's crazy. As much as we have had our diverse, oppositions in this conversation, I like resonate a lot with some of the stuff you're saying because I too hold true to two faiths. I do practice Christianity, and I also practice the Muslim faith. And yeah, I did Ramadan for the first time this year. It was great. And I have a Quran, and I also have the Bible in my home. And I grew up missionary Baptist. I grew up. My dad was a deacon. My mom's choir director. She's the Eastern Star. My cousin is actually the pastor of my church, my home church. But even when it comes down to relationships, how I view them, I always say that there are things that we both do great. And you take what you do great, I take what I do great. We both bring them into the relationship to work towards our end goal. That's how I view relationships. So the positive now, right? I'm so grateful that I do have a trying man. You know, even through the difficulty of his trauma and the things that he has difficulty working with. Trust me, it's been hard. It's been very hard. But he tries with me. And with him being in therapy and I'm in therapy, and shout out to the Black men in therapy who take care of their mental health, there have been a lot of different techniques implemented to try to be better, to want to be heard, to want to listen, to want to understand opposing viewpoints and not shut down. Also, learning to not speak in anger, learning to not speak to attack, you know. And I think that with my platform now, even if him and I were to separate and go our separate ways, I do have preferential treatment with men to where they will listen to me. A lot of women don't have that. A lot of women are not able to get into situations with men, especially the ones who have more so of a close neighboring relationship with incels, because they're now being trained to think a certain type of way. They're being influenced to act a certain type of way. And it's crazy because they're being taught that there has to be a prize and it has to be their gender. And they're also being taught that women are to do whatever that they say do. And that mindset is so harmful because we cannot cultivate healthy relationships if we're not able to have a conversation with our partner.
So I would say as a man though, if you have to identify yourself as the leader, you're not a leader. Like if you have to try and assert yourself to be something, you're not that something. You're just not. You're just not. Like everybody naturally falls into their roles. So bro, like just to tell you straight up, if you ain't that, you ain't that. Like you can't make her make you that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a king is not crowned by the queen. A king is a king when he gets there. Like, so you just weren't that. So just accept your role.
That made my ass itch, bro.
So just accept your role, bro. I'm just gonna keep it a band.
When you
like,
say she
your
disgusted.
your role though.
yeah.
Your role.
If you ain't it, you ain't it.
I don't think role is a negative word. Do I
fall into your place? Like I feel like honestly, if I can put into him, if I can speak life into him, I'm helping him. I'm crowning him. Because there are some men that don't have that in themselves, and sometimes they work so hard that they don't even recognize that feeling. So yeah, if you speak life into your man, you're actually crowning him. So yeah, I'm gonna tell my man he can be whatever he want to be. If he want to be a fucking circus clown in a big ass tent riding an elephant, baby, go ahead, do your thing. I'm right here.
That's not the same.
Because I don't, and this is just me personally, right? I can only speak for myself. I go into conversations to share perspectives. I hear you when you say speaking life into him is crowning him, but I did not give him that crown. I'm helping him to retain it, because how I look at it is the same way I come into a situation, an established woman. I'm not going to champion paying bills. I've been doing it way too long. It's not a good feeling, you know. So the same way that I'm operating as a regular functioning adult, making decisions for myself, he doesn't get to have his ego stroked off of him being a fish who can swim as well. So I can promote you into greatness by, you know, reaffirming you in the decisions that you're making and supporting you. But I did not give you your manhood, and I am not the person who solidifies your manhood. You should not be identifying with me in order to get the encouragement and get the dedication and the commitment and the motivation that you need. You should be able to do this without me.
What you should be able to do and what's feasible, because we're human beings and men are a part of the human race, are different. And I think that it's rhetorics like that make it seem like men have to be emotionless
tough
in order
right
to navigate in relationships. you should come to me and feel safe enough to say, baby, I don't feel like a king today. I don't feel like I ruled shit in this world today. And I feel like low key, the world got the better of me. And you are the person that I trust not to make me feel like an asshat about it. Right. Like I definitely hear what you're saying, Paradise, because I think that there is a time to look that nigga in the face, grab him by the chin and say, hey,
Like, all
hey,
right.
all right,
So-
right. You know, we gonna figure this out, but you're not gonna sit here for another day longer, right? But there is a time, and I feel like that's why I was saying that relationship dynamics are ebbs and flows. In the Black community, when we have these conversations, far too often it's about who should do what at what time, as if they have to happen in this very rigid way, as if it can't be a shift. There is gonna be a moment in this relationship where, baby, you came in and you're doing your thing, right? But I think, especially with platforms, Paris, you and I know very well, the right video does the right thing for us, and we got bookings, we got checks, we got all type of stuff that starts to roll in, and we might be doing a little bit better than our partner for 2, 3, 6 months, depending on what the checks are looking like. And in that 2, 3, 6 months, when I'm up, he might experience the down. Does that mean that now all of a sudden I am the permanent leader of this household? Absolutely not. But it might mean that for this 6 months, my leadership looks like taking this financial role, means like making the executive decisions because it is coming out of my primary bank account. And then when he gets back on his feet, we resume, right? Those are ebbs and flows. But if I don't even feel like as a man, I could come home and tell you that I need you to ebb and flow with me, but instead I gotta lie and I gotta figure out how to make it look like I got it all together because
He's gonna shut down.
Man. Right, it's a shutdown. I
think we're talking about two different things. So
Okay.
what
Yeah.
I'm speaking to is a man who's already walking in his purpose before I get there. And I'm speaking to, I know that there are men, the only time they feel motivated in life is if they have a relationship with a woman. That's the only time you see him at his best. I do not subscribe to that type of man. I'm not talking about my man's ability to feel comfortable with me or his ability to, speak empathetically with me or be vulnerable. I'm speaking to the idea of him being a leader and his need to be reaffirmed that he is the man because I'm there. That's what I'm saying. I do not subscribe to the idea that when a man comes along, now he's all of a sudden given the throne. You already got the throne. And as far as the table is concerned, I always say, I don't bring anything to the table for me, but me. You tell me what you need in order to cultivate it because the table is yours. You should already have it established. You don't need me. If I was not here, you should feel confident in your manhood. Even if I feel like I'm the baddest thing walking, you should feel confident in your manhood based off of the character that you have and your persona that you can go get another me just like that.
Because the flip side of that, Paris, is women feeling like they have to diminish themselves so their men feel like men, right? So I understand what you're saying, Paris, about like, don't wrap your manhood up in me, because sometimes that has looked like, I gotta diminish myself so you can feel like the man. It's like, nah, you should have that down packed, right? Like, because that's a heavy burden to bear. Like the burden of someone's masculinity resting or manhood resting on you, that's a lot. I don't think it's fair.
And I don't think that it's reasonable. Like I said, I know one too many men that I've seen. He's at his best when he gets a girlfriend. He's heavily codependent on just having a woman in general. It doesn't matter who the woman is, right? You see him in and out of relationships, because his whole livelihood is functioning off of femininity. It's functioning off of him being able to have that soft, caring, nurturing identity with him all the time. You don't see him with the job until he got a woman. You don't see him with his kids until he got a woman. You don't see him being a productive and a helpful human being at all until there is a woman around. So that is what I was speaking to. And I think it is very important that we do acknowledge men being able to be vulnerable with us and not being able to, weaponize their emotions against them. But when I heard Whitney say, hey, I'm crowning him, I took that in a different realm. Like, no, I don't give you that crown. You keep that crown. You had that crown. It didn't come from me. I'm just gonna keep reaffirming.
Well, let me say, I'll help you adjust it. I'm here to help you adjust when it gets a
Right.
little crooked.
Yeah, I'm not crowning you. You do that on your own. I don't know how you got to that throne.
Yeah. So I wanted to throw out something. First of all, way back at the start of this question, Paris said that men ask about her mental health. I took that to mean, are you crazy? I'm like, that's rude. That can't be the case. But I wanted to ask though, for I think it's unanimous here that all of you said that you wanted to partner with black men. At least I believe it's unanimous.
Yeah,
Why
I
is
ain't
it?
having no other way.
What'd you say?
I'm not gonna have it any other way.
Okay, yeah. So I want to know why. Why is that the case? And do you think some type of way about women, black women who don't, right? Who may be partnered with white men or otherwise?
I don't want to have
Problem
to
with
explain
white
my
women.
bonnet. I don't want to have to explain my bonnet, my edge control, my wigs, my none of that. I don't want to have to explain none of my black ass products to nobody. And he just needs to look at them, understand, oh yeah, my mama got that, and then go on about his business. Don't ask me about nothing.
I mean, for me, I feel like patriarchy exists, misogyny exists. So at the very least, I can fight this uphill battle and not have to also then explain racism and white supremacy to a certain extent. Right? It's just
All right. I'm with
it's a
you.
lot going on.
That makes sense.
And so, you
That
know,
make a lot of sense.
we could work through your misogyny in this relationship. But what I'm not about to do is have conversations with you about like, did the white person really mean it? Were you really passed over for that promotion? Because
What you say to my auntie?
That's
Right.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Hey, I'm with you.
Too
I'm
much.
with you there.
Too much.
And plus the way that when I was growing up, how we weren't chosen, and finally being appreciated by a black man, and I finally, grab that. Wasn't letting that go. I was, no.
Yeah. And also, white ice is not colder. White men do the same shit. It drives me nuts when people are be like, you know, the girlies who date interracially, which I actually have no problem with. I don't care.
Yeah, that's
Date who you
cool.
want. Black women can date who they want. I feel a little bit differently when it's black men, but there are reasons for that.
Interesting. I want to
I
ask about
said
that
it.
later
I
on.
said
But
it.
yeah,
I said it.
definitely.
But yeah, the girls who are like, oh, because my white man, it's like, girl, he grew up in the same patriarchal system as the black one. It's the same shit, right? Like the only difference is your white man, you know, you also gotta like worry about like white supremacy and racism, right? So
Hope.
So I got two, and the first one is real sad, but it meant a lot to me. White sex don't feel good.
She said it. There you have it, folks.
Jackrabbits. They're jackrabbits.
For any white men who sub to my
Jackrabbits.
channel, I don't endorse this. I'm just putting it out there.
Quick
But go ahead.
compass. Quick compass.
wait, Hope, do you mean spiritually or you mean literally? Like,
Thank you for asking for the
Yeah, both
clarity,
of 'em.
because it was more of a spiritual thing.
oh,
It is.
got it. Okay.
It doesn't feel good to my soul, and the rhythm ain't never right. You know what I'm saying? Like it's never there. Like the smell ain't even the same. The smell doesn't set
There's
off.
no
So yeah, there's a smell, and like when we do it, it always. My thing is, I want y'all to think about any
What it
sexual
smell like.
experience you've had with another black person.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there like the softest hint of cocoa butter or shea in the
Ooh.
room? Even if
Yes.
both of y'all done been out all
It
day,
smell like
He just
Badusi.
smells so good. Like my husband smells
there's
so good all the
something
time. I'm like,
about
ooh,
black
love your
bodies
funk.
engaging that just got like, I don't know if it's just our pheromones that's telling us something while black sex is happening, but there's a different thing spiritually that I couldn't shake, and I decided like at that point that it wasn't going to be for me because I wasn't going to have bad sex for the rest of my life. That was just not going to be the thing. But I think also it's a lot of what both of you ladies are saying. I don't like having to explain all of the nuances of me on top of the fact that I got to tell you about transmissia in the world. And then I got to be worried about whether or not your people going to be racist or transmissic. I ain't got time.
It's so much.
It's too much. Like I don't have time. And then
It's
on top of that,
exhausting.
I know my people's cues. I know my folks' cues when auntie don't like you because she just don't like you, or because she got a problem with you being a man in a wig. I don't know Carol's understanding or how she gonna pull it out on the bag of me. And Carol's way of not liking me might be to sit in my face the entire night and patronize me while talking shit about me with Janet and over wine at 2 a.m. in the morning. And I'm not gonna do that. Like, we not about to. And so I rather go where I know what transgressions look like so that I can avoid them. And I don't have to explain or wonder about the racism and all of that stuff on top of it, than to be constantly worried about what this meant, what that meant. I don't get it. I haven't been around long enough. And then the sex don't feel good. So I'm just, I can't.
Yeah, and it's the undercover racism too. Because as soon as you piss them off, I'm all type of nigga bitches. And
Yeah.
man, like, be for real. No, for real, that's happened to me before. Like, I pissed them off and I was, oh.
With a partner, with a romantic partner. Wow.
Yeah, like, it's crazy work. I thought I was your little brown sugar, your little ebony queen a minute
You should have
ago.
seen the signs. It was there. Like, they man started calling you my beautiful black Hershey bar, chocolate drop. You should have knew it was coming.
Paris. Oh, I don't think Paris got a chance to answer that question.
Well, my answer is simple. I just love black men. It don't get no different than that. I'm not worried about explaining my culture. I'm not worried about racism. You can't run from racism. It's gonna be there. Even if there was a white man who expressed a romantic interest or an attraction to you, that doesn't negate racism, because even if he's not racist, you guys are still going to have a racist experience. And then it heightens when you change proximity of your social climate, so the expectation that it won't be there, you actually just increased it, because interracial couples, they experience a whole nother different sector of life. They see lenses differently. But for me, my answer is I love black men. It will always be black love supremacy. It will always be keep the bloodline pure. My children are going to have 4 grandchildren. Stand on that. And I don't think that ideology is harmful at all, because white people do it. And
at the end of the day, your kids are going to do whatever they want to do anyway. So we can preach that all day.
Children, I'm talking about me and my womb. And my womb is cultivated for a black man. My womb is prepared for a black man. My heart is meant for a black man. And when my children grow up and they have their own ideas of life and they get to see everything, I'm going to support my children, but they will absolutely have the same sentiment and understanding about interracial dating and their ideas. However they choose to take that walk is on them. However, the education will be there for them to make that decision. But I'm talking about me. My love ain't meant for nothing but a black man. I'm their problem, and they gonna deal with it.
Period.
So
their problem.
I gotta ask before we walk away from this, because I'm sure Bam has someone else who wants to take us. But Zimmy, because you said it. You talked about how, like, you don't care that of black women getting interracial marriages or relationships, but you have some sort of feeling about black men, which I think is super interesting. I've heard this before, and I'm curious why you feel that way.
And the caveat should be, I'm not talking about like weird black women who be like, oh, I want, like, whiteness over everything. That's weird,
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about
weird.
like you happen to just mad weird. Like, that's a whole nother conversation. Mad weird. I'm talking about just like interracial, you just happen to be with a white man. I don't have a problem with it, because I know people hate this, but the numbers have been borne out. There are not enough single black men for every black woman who would like a black man. Right? It's not a matter of opinion. It's not I think. It just, when you look at like what's considered eligible or marriageable, which is like the terminology they'll use in the research, when you look at black men of a certain age, like marriageable age, educational background, which is typically like a high school diploma or more. So we're not even getting to like college degrees. Just, can you survive? Do you have a high school diploma? Are you of a certain age? Are you not currently incarcerated? Because you can be married, or you can get married while you're incarcerated. It's just a lot more difficult. So they're looking at people who are not incarcerated. Once you go down a list, I believe the numbers are like for white men and white women, it's literally almost 1-to-1, that ratio. When it's with black men and black women, that ratio jumps to like one black man for every 7 eligible, marriageable black women. It's not possible, right? So I can't be upset with someone who's like, look, I've been looking, I've tried, I date black men, I'm open to all. And I can't find one because I know the numbers. And the numbers literally say they're just not there, right?
Okay,
Now,
so
this isn't
Dr.
let me
Umar
just
would tell
finish
you to
real-
go to Africa.
Just real quick, let me just say this. This isn't to say that there aren't systemic reasons, right? Because so that's where some of the like the weirdo black girls lose me when they're like, oh, it's because black men. No, there are reasons why black men are over incarcerated, right? They're systemic, they're structural racism. Like there are reasons why black men are undereducated.
Any other demographic.
There are structural reasons that are beyond the control of black men that lead to there being fewer marriageable black men, but it doesn't change the fact that there are fewer of them. And so I think black men have more options when it comes to black women, right? Like literally, there's one of you for every 7. So to me, it feels more like a choice.
It doesn't feel like that on Tinder. I'm put that out there. It doesn't feel like that on Tinder.
Why are you still on Tinder, bro? Why are you still on Tinder? That's my first question, Prom. Why are you still on Tinder?
Dating apps aside, right? Black men have more, period. And it's not a matter of opinion, matter of fact, you have more options when it comes to black women. So it is a very strategic and I think political choice as a black man to not date black women. And I wish more black men would be honest about that.
Well, let me say this. Not sorry to who this offends, I don't support interracial dating. Now, it does not mean that if you were to do it, that I would be nasty to you or mistreat you. But no, I personally feel like black people who date down everything minus the diaspora, like you're the weakest link. You definitely are the weakest link. And you find that those people have the most to say about what's happening in the black community with everything going on black, but they're nowhere near it. And when it comes to whether it's a black man or a black woman, what I have found when it comes to black men that date outside of their race interracially, which is a very small number, it's really a minuscule number for both, for black women and black men. It's not a threat, but specifically when they date outside their race, they take their wealth and they go outside their race and they adapt. Majority of the time, those men adapt their livelihood to the woman's culture. When it comes to black women, they find themselves trying to mitigate between the two. And it still isn't as successful. You find that biracial children still have the most struggles integrating in society and finding their identity. I think that knowing that information is very selfish for parents to do off of the contingency of your happiness, because we know what the divorce rates are. They're based off of everybody's happiness. You know, the number one reason is because of irreconcilable differences under the umbrella of happiness. So you're still not necessarily getting a fixer-upper. Now, what Zimmy mentioned was like the weird ones. Now we have a very harmful group of women called divestors. And now those divestors, yes, if you don't know.
I've never heard that. Yeah, I've never heard that.
Okay, so divestors are specific.
Group.
YouTube them. Yeah.
They're specifically a hateful black group of women who pride specifically black women dating not only interracially, but with white men. They specifically want to grow and connect with white men. Now, I do not know how their plan is going to work, because never in life will white women relinquish their power and give up their man. But they also champion to have a mass genocide of black male babies and black male boys in the event that they happen to start growing older and get violent. I do not stand for stuff like that. I do not at all. They literally run off of black girl and black women supremacy. A lot of times they weaponize the femicide rate. A lot of times it's fear mongering about black women's interactions with black men as to recruit. They have big, like Zimmy mentioned, the hotel, but the divestors, they literally have a recruitment process. And honestly, just being candid, anytime you're telling me something is wrong with me as me dating a black man that looks like me and we're majority, you're the weirdo. You need a recruitment process for you to go date interracially. You're the weirdo. So if people choose
like a whole bunch of hurt,
that's fine.
But Paris,
to keep black people out the process when they do.
But Paris, if the statistic that our friend Zimmy said was correct about like 1 to 7 around those numbers in favor of black men, and there's just so few of them who are marriageable, then like, are you saying that it is preferable that those black women who can't partner just like don't partner period when there are other options, there are other people available?
Well, I don't even attach myself to those black women. I think that they're harmful. I think that they're
No,
ignorant.
not the
and I think
divestors, not divestors. I'm just saying that like,
okay,
if there are
the ones who do not
if it,
carry the mentality of divestors.
no,
Is
no,
that
I'm
what you're saying?
no. I'm just talking about regular black women, right? If it is the case that mathematically there's simply not
Right.
enough eligible black men, then like, would it be preferable, like considering your ideology that you just stated, would it be preferable that they not partner at all rather than partnering outside their race?
No, because you can literally date all down the diaspora. As of today, it's cool to be black. So of course we're calling Afro Latinas. They're black when they want to be black. You know, we're calling Mexicans black when they want to be black.
Hey.
Oh no, I don't
know,
stand for that.
I
Oh
don't-
no,
I don't
The- ain't
call
no
them
Mexican.
hey,
Afro Latinas are real though. They're
I am
real.
definitely a real thing.
Afro Latinas are not
They're
real.
real.
What I'm saying is, okay, here, when you're in America, right? A lot of times with places such as New York and Florida, and what is it called? That California, places like that, those are huge melting pots. That's not the masses of America. Those huge melting pots where you have a wide variety of cultures, you have a lot of people that are integrated with each other all the time. That is a very
Mhm.
common thing. New Yorkers, et cetera, et cetera. So even knowing that Afro Latinas, right? You know, Dominicans and Haitians, well, Haitians, of course, black, and Cubans, you have white presenting Cubans, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
black presenting Cubans,
Mhm.
all of this other dynamics. A lot, and that's not taking away race and ethnicity, not one of the same. A lot of times they perpetuate the idea of blackness in America. I'm not talking about what their race or ethnicity is. I'm talking about the idea to be black in America. We see it in the music. We see it in the clothes and the fads. We see it in every ethnic group. Asians want to be black when they get ready. That's what I mean. Not necessarily that they are not black, right? That's not their ethnicity, but they
Yeah.
perpetuate cosplay blackness. That's what I mean. So to clean that up. Now, going back to the question, you can literally go outside of the US to get what you need. Brazil, Colombia, Africa is a huge continent. Go have your pick. But to insinuate that it's not enough, it's only not enough in America. You can move around. You may not want to subscribe to another person's culture, but if it means that much to you to get married, why would you go do all of that hard work with a white man when you would have to do it for another man anyways?
So, in respect for people's time, I got one more. There was a few other questions, but I'll ask this one, and we can kind of just go forward from there. And let's start to wrap up. But, what do you hope the future holds for little black girls, and what do you think needs to happen to achieve it?
The
I hope-
Misandrous. I'm sorry.
Oh Jesus.
Y'all time to rise?
No, I hope that I want to see more love within ourselves. Teaching how, teaching little black girls how to love themselves a little bit better and not having to look up to outside forces, to look up to themselves and to see themselves as, the influence instead of others and trusting in themselves. And I really want that to happen. For real, for real.
Mm.
Mhm.
Man, I feel like I want so much for little
Right.
black girls. Like, that's a hard question. I mean, obviously, there's like self-love, self-worth, self-esteem, but like, I want to see the material conditions of little black girls change, right? Like, I want little black girls to be receiving the best education. I want them to have access to adequate and proper health care and good nutrition. Like, I want the world for little black girls. And I also, the misandrist in me wants to see little black girls take shit from nobody, right? Like, you are not meant to be subservient or a servant to anybody. Like, I want if I could summarize it, I want little black girls to take up space and I want them to do it with attitude, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't want little black girls to be worried about, well, like how am I going to be stereotyped and how take up space, do it with full charge and do it with attitude, right? In addition to like real changes around their material conditions.
I think I want little black girls to be able to see black women in real places of power, creating real spaces of change. Because I feel like you are more inspired to be the things that you can see. And I'm seeing little black girls wanting to be judges and doctors more often, right? I'm seeing all of that start to shift. And I'm seeing more little black girls like get into sports and be all of those things because now they are seeing it. And so now we've gotten a vice president. Like, I want our little black girls to see a black woman president, like doing it and making big decisions and making big changes. And I want them to see a future where breast cancer is curable by a black woman, like that type of shit. Like I want them to see big shit, right? Because I feel like we got an opportunity to see big shit. We are seeing droves of black women doctors. We're seeing droves of black women scientists. Like we are getting a little glimpse of what I think history is going to look like. And I just want them to be able to see something even greater than that. Like I want them to be coming home to us on whatever floating iPad pops out of their fucking forearm, you know, like, and showing us the video of these black women that are out here, you know, shaking shit up. And we be looking like, y'all remember when we was happy with a vice president, bitch? Like, you know, like, I'm excited for that. So that, I think that would be what I want to see.
All is cool. I don't want none of this shit for them. I want black girls to have a soft life and remain kids as long as they can. And I want them to do that free of judgment. That's what I want. And whatever that looks like in a comfortable, safe space for them, that's what I want to see going forward. But I want them to be able to do that, knowing that they are loved, giving love out to each other, giving love out to little black boys, giving respect out to each other, and giving respect out to little black boys and their counterparts. And I also want them to be able to have a soft life and be a little black girl without judgment, living carefree as long as they possibly can with little worry, right? I feel like a lot of times the complex of we have to fix everything is still early. We learn to rock a baby before we learn to even take care of ourselves. And I feel like that's a generational curse where we're always learning to be a babysitter really soon. We're getting intertwined and picking up the pieces of whomever does or does not have the kids around. And I think that a lot of times it takes away from us to just really be able to grow and experience childhood. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see little black girls be able to have more healthy, catered, safer experiences being children without being sexualized, without being abused, without being harmed, without experiencing violence, and without being disrespected or being made fun of.
Thank y'all so much for like doing this. I super enjoyed this. I felt like this. I knew it was gonna be great, but like it was even better than I expected. Like I said, I mean, Smooth, you can do your outro. I give each of y'all an opportunity to say a little outro on what your thoughts on the conversation. I hope y'all, enjoyed yourself as much as I did. And obviously, I understand people, especially with people's busy schedules, but I would love to do something similar in the future at later dates. I think this was just really fun group.
I'm down. I ain't doing shit.
I don't know. Y'all got any thoughts before we do outros?
Yeah, outros.
Outros, yeah. Let's go.
Okay.
Thank y'all. I appreciate being here. I know it was quiet, but I love absorbing everybody's opinion and everybody's thought processes that are different than mine. So I really love and I really enjoyed the conversation.
Where can people find you? Also, if you want people to find you.
Again, at 420 Artist Whitney on all social media platforms. Get some art, get a reading, any one of those.
Zimmy, or just go online?
I had a great time. I really enjoyed the conversation. And you can find me at Zimmy5. It's so unoriginal. Zimmy is my name and birthday. Tutu on Instagram or Twitter. And actually, I want to say you don't know me, Hope, but like I remember you from Ghetto Ass Clubhouse, and I've always thought you were super brilliant. And while you were talking, you said the word transmissic, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" Let me Google that shit real quick. So it was an honor to like get a chance to be on this with you, and I love getting to meet you, Paris and Whitney, and thank you for inviting me, Bam. And nice to meet you, Smooth and Prime as well.
She still hate niggas. Well, see, but we a little bit better. We did good.
Do I hate niggas?
Yes.
Yes.
No hesitation.
Not at all.
Like, not at all.
Well, that's the plan.
I am crying. I enjoyed being in this space with you ladies. It was really dope. The exchange was dope and respectful and challenging. And I loved all of us also being able to come to grips and clarify things without people even asking for the need to clarify. It was dope. And I can't wait for whatever the next conversation is going to be, because I love being able to not agree, but pull positivity out of the conversation. Like, it is all good. We can still be cool. But y'all can find me at Hope Giselle on all of my social media. And I'm going to plug my book. This is my baby. It is called Until I Met Black Men, and it is available on all of the places where you can find books. Amazon does have it. Yes, it is a part of the Prime order.
Girl, let me order that.
Can you put the link in the private chat? Or in one of your chats? Yeah, just so we can.
Super gonna buy that.
Yeah, I can do that. But yeah, so make sure y'all pick up a copy. I have it on Kindle and paperback. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Paris, please.
I guess you're gonna save me for last. Your favorite controversial content creator. Some of y'all may not be so much of your favorite, but that's okay. Of course, you can find me on Twitter, my baby at _Paradise Paris 1. Here on YouTube, just landed in Paris. On TikTok at _Paradise Paris. On Facebook and Instagram at Paradise Paris. All my business inquiries at contact.paradiseparis@gmail.com. I look forward to working with some of you later in the future, maybe, possibly. And it's been a wonderful experience. I always enjoy getting into conversations where I can learn, and I'm not the smartest person in the room, and bounce off different perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, Smooth is your show. You can take us out.
Oh, that's funny. All right, so listen, if y'all have enjoyed this episode, you know what I'm saying, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe to me. Make sure you sub to Prime. You know what I'm saying? If you're watching over there on Twitch, can't leave that alone. Also, make sure you sub and like on Paradise Paris' platform, because I realize she's streaming as well. Yeah, hey, this has been episode
and
number.
Shout out to Bam.
200.
Before that, we got to shout Bam.
Oh yeah.
I don't do anything.
No, it's fine. But no, it's fine. Bam.
No, for real. No, Prime. You're right. Hey,
Yeah.
shout out to Bam. Shout out to Bam for pulling this together,
Yeah.
getting a group of people together, because this is all his idea.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Hey.
Yeah.
So anyway, listen. This is Ask a Black Girl, episode number 247 on the Home Room Smooth podcast. We up out of here. Catch y'all later.
Okay. So we did the thing. Yeah. So I guess I'll.
All right.
Also, you know,
Hey,
Prime is
okay,
still
now we're in
live.
the
Yeah, I'm still live. So
Hey, I'm still live too. I'm still live.
Yeah,
too.
just don't
Yeah,
say
I just-
Whitney.
after
You're about to
hours.
say
Yeah,
something
I know.
awful. Don't do it.
Yeah, I know Whitney was. She wasn't used to that. She wasn't ready. She wasn't ready for me to keep streaming. I know it. Because people
Mhm.
thought we were done.
But if you wanna talk, I could turn off my stream. That's like not a problem.
Nah. What do you want to talk about?
Nothing. I was just gonna say I gotta go feed my kids. Bye.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well then, talk to you later then.
Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, fellas, we did it.
Yeah.
This was good. This is solid.
Shout
So,
out to my
hold
man
on.
Bam.
Let me do this like that. So
Yeah.
Jesus
I mean,
Christ,
I kind of like being
way-
intimate with you guys like that. I don't know.
I don't know. That was way too
but-
like this is too close. Like, too close to me. Too close to me, dog.
But yeah, I shout out to Bam. Honestly, Bam's the one who came up with this, and he
Yeah.
made it all happen. He put the legwork in, so I just want to make sure that everyone knows that. Shout out to my man Smooth, who helped host this. Yeah,
The host with the most.
Man, hey, so okay, so I do want to ask you about what you were saying earlier.
okay.
Like, could you like explicitly like call me out? And I'm like, wait, I'm like, I don't like,
You
I'm
did take a whole
pretty.
shot. You did.
Yeah, I know. Like, took a whole shot at me, and I'm like,
You asked,
wait a minute.
you asked them, right? You asked them, like, well, like, I'm right here. You said, right? So come at me, right? Like find like the black conservative in me. So I'm like, okay, well, I got evidence. Like, Zimmy might not know. I don't know if you have an experience with Zimmy. I'm not sure if you know her.
No,
But,
I
like,
don't.
Yeah. So she don't know, but I know.
Right.
So like you asked for it, so I was like, all right, well, here it is. I want to brought it up otherwise, but you specifically asked for it.
Oh, he has to get in. Hold on. Let me send. Hey, somebody send Dream the link. I gotta find my Discord on my phone.
Yeah,
got
I'll
you.
do it. I got it.
Okay. If you fast.
Okay,
Yeah, I
somebody
got
send
you.
Dream the link and let him in here. But okay. So with that being said, I forget exactly what it was about, but from my opinion on my side. Okay, hold on, wait, hold on, because Paris ain't even on here no more. Hey, so listen, y'all that are watching on Paris' stream, y'all can come watch the rest of this on Homeroom with Smooth if you want to. She just didn't log out of her own stream, so I'm gonna log out for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Put you
cool.
up back by the screen naked or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm like, what the heck just happened? All right. So listen. With that said, with what you were saying, like I don't even really remember it all the way, but I
I
was just
remember
like,
this.
bro, like that's not me. Like that's like
That-
me. Like
But
for
that was-
instance, a
that
lot of the conversations we have, I take a position of like, okay,
Devil's advocate.
this is not what's there. Well, this is not what's available
That
in the
wasn't what that
conversation.
was.
So therefore,
That was not
No.
because this was from your experience. You were talking about like how you've interacted with other black women in your life. Like, so this wasn't you as saying like, oh, I'm just talking about this stance. You're like, this is what I did. This is what I said to them. So I'm assuming you weren't lying about that.
Yeah,
And that's why
I feel like you definitely believe some women be hoes.
Yeah.
so okay,
That's a fact.
it depends. No, it depends on the
Goddamn it, Dream.
context and the connotation of the conversation. All right, that is what it really depends on, the context and the connotation of the conversation. That's what it depends on.
My thing
Because
is,
depending on the
what kind of-
conversation, then maybe I might have said something that might have lended to that credence. But it depends on what the actual conversation was and why I said what I said.
You were
It's not
talking about
that's not my holistic belief.
I didn't, but that's the point. That was literally the point of what I was trying to say, was that this isn't all of you, right? Like that I'm not reducing you down to that. That like it was a
Right.
very contentious conversation between you two, and you're frozen. Your camera's frozen on my screen. I'm not sure if for everyone
Yeah,
else.
it's
yeah.
frozen on mine
Yeah.
too.
Okay. But yeah, this wasn't me saying that you are a terrible person, that you are automatically classified as a hotep, or anything like that, right? I'm just saying that like when we're talking about whether and you're still frozen, that whether black men, oh, there you are. You're good. I think you're good now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I fixed it.
Black men have these conservative ideals. Like, okay, well, this is an example of you having those ideals. And I remember
Right.
this conversation. You said that women in your life, right? They've come to you to have private conversations, and they talked about like the things they've done, like the sexual things they've done, and they felt guilt about that, right? And then your response to them wasn't just like, well, I mean, like, hey, like everyone gets involved in as an adult, like, you know, sex is a complicated matter, and like you're trying to figure things out for yourself, and you know you should have room to explore, and maybe guilt is not the path to go. You were like, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. You've done something wrong. Don't do that again. This isn't exactly your words, but that's the sentiment that you were giving out.
Yeah, because so okay, in the context that I gave that conversation, it was probably in regards to a few friends that were dealing with guys that they told me up front were trash, and they kept dealing with him. And then afterward, they're telling me after the fact that they feel like trash. And I'm like, yes, you feel like trash because you dealt with trash. Therefore, if you knew it was trash and you knew it was probably bad for you, you probably should separate yourself from that situation. Therefore, no, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be nice to you and say, oh, you shouldn't have did that. I'm going to talk to you like you're my homeboy and tell you like, bro, you did a wrong thing.
If that is the case, then you did not intimate that from you. So I'm going to just go by your word, right? And you're saying that's how you felt? Okay. But like we had a very long conversation. It was like an hour of us going back and forth. This was extremely intense.
Are you talking about that night on the stream where it's just me and you on the stream?
It wasn't
because I was drunk as hell.
It wasn't just me and you. No.
I mean, there was probably one dude in the upper corner, right? And it was me and you. Like it was not that many people. Once we went into after hours, I distinctly remember a night where you were like going off on me, and I was drunk as hell.
I've gone off on you a few times, but like it's not just one time.
That after hours, I remember.
Okay, but like so I don't know which time. In my head, I think there was like a mostly full panel there, but like there was a long time ago, so I don't hold me to that. But my understanding, but I just remember our conversation, and we went at it for a long time, and you didn't say anything about like, oh, it's just like they were with a trash guy. The focus of the conversation, to my recollection, is about like their sexual practices, them sleeping around, right? And then you saying, yeah, you should feel guilty about that. Don't do that again. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily about sleeping around, and I'm gonna let Dream get in after this because I felt like he got something to say. It's not necessarily about them sleeping around. It's the choices of the men they chose to sleep around with. Sleeping around isn't necessarily bad if you're sleeping around with good quality people, like cool. But if you're sleeping around with people that are inherently bad, you know what I'm saying, and you're getting bad outcomes over and over again, it's like, yo, what are you fucking doing? Like at some point, I have to tell you that as your friend. I
agree with you. I agree with you. Then, if that's what you were trying to say, I didn't get that from that conversation. But if you're saying that, then I agree with you.
Hey, I was hella drunk. So I'm not.
I don't think you weren't drinking this night. I don't think you were drinking this night.
No. Most of your streams I drink because it's like 3 hours.
More
like
fun
bro,
way,
like
huh?
Okay, well,
like no, I'm just being dead ass. Like even my own podcast, like back in the day, like I was drinking a whole lot. Like I had to cut that shit out.
Okay,
I'm glad you did, brother.
Yeah.
Same here. You want to say something, Dream?
So Dream, what are your thoughts?
I think you should have pushed back more on their misandry. I don't know why y'all didn't, bro.
Well, because
first of all, come on. There's Prime and then there's Bam. Like that wasn't gonna happen.
You wouldn't allow us to be a misogynist, and you just don't push back on us, Prime. I think this is like.
Oh, I didn't want to take up the panel. Like I thought it was about the women. So like
this is a place for them to share their perspective. This wasn't a place to like fight.
We weren't trying to debate them. I like when I jumped in, it was just like at least I felt I was trying to add to the conversation rather than like saying like you're wrong or whatever, you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Okay, but you just have different philosophies, and if I hear anything like "ist," I always have to speak up and push back, so I can at least put a wrench in their brain, and so they can think about it later.
What do you think was actually said that was misandrous?
Unfair, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think was actually misandrous?
Yeah, I wrote it down. She said that a black woman can date whoever, but I have a
Prime did
but black man. Yeah, what did you say?
Yeah, I specifically
he didn't push. He just like he was curious, you know, like
I asked her to expand on that.
And what did she say?
I hope I don't butcher anything, but she was like, well, it's actually not really that she has like a problem within that, like it shouldn't happen. She was talking about that black men have like a bit of like a responsibility because of like how many marriageable black men, and she defined that, but like marriageable black men, they are compared to marriageable black women, and that like the statistics are off. Like according to her words, it's like in the white population, that's like a 1-to-1 statistics ratio.
Just wrong.
But then and then she said for black men, and she didn't have the stat in front of her, but she was like it was like 1-to-7, like some way off number, and she was like, well, if that is the case, if it is the case that there are a lot less marriageable black men, that they should be with black women, right? Then they should be there, like not take themselves out of the population. Go to
And I know, like, I
First of
know it is
all-
true though. Like, there men.
No. It's just not true.
No,
It's
I'm
just not true.
I'm literally gonna go like step by step. Why? It's objectively true that there are more women than men in every race.
No. It's not true when you're talking about never married, no kids, bachelor candidates. So like those like three criteria for like marriage is like there's way more men that fit that criteria because there are more women than men, but a lot more women have kids than there are men because one man can impregnate way more women, right? So it's like a lot of women are impregnated by the same man. So you have a lot of other men that never impregnated any woman who are single. And so there's way more men without kids.
I don't know if
than
kids would make you unmarriable. I don't know if that's like
it's not about being unmarriable necessarily, but we're talking about the caliber of the highest quality of men being eligible for marriage.
She was talking about high quality because
there are more high quality marriageable men than there are higher quality marriageable women, just because of the fact that there are more men that don't have kids than there are women.
Maybe, but that's a complete. Now you're saying something different than what was said. I don't know if that's true, but that's different. She's just saying marryable in general.
What is marryable?
So,
like, if it's not based on quality, then what the fuck is it based on?
It's 18, high school diploma, and like not in jail. I think.
Yeah, like not incarcerated.
but okay, so look, but even when you say that not in jail part, right? We've already discussed and established previously in the conversation itself, men and women both agreed that men are locked up more. Therefore, yes, it would be disproportionately that you would have less men available for women that
Which
have
is what she said.
like,
She said that too. She said there's systemic reasons for it.
Yeah.
She said there's
right.
like
No. And I'm not even disagreeing with that point.
Yeah.
But it makes logical sense.
Yeah.
Like we reached a very logical conclusion there.
Like we can ask her for a source, but like it seemed like
and the fact, like I said, just the fact that adding the fact on top of that, they like said there just are more women. Like even if everyone was like 100% perfect, there's just more women than men.
But my thing is, you're putting an arbitrary criteria on diploma, not in jail.
These aren't arbitrary. These aren't arbitrary. Come on, don't do that. This is not arbitrary.
Hold on. I'm saying like, wait. You need a high school diploma to be a marriageable good person, and
so like
to be able to
when
sustain the marriage.
yeah, when we're talking about
why
like
do you need that?
Excuse me, when we're talking about marriageability, like there
What
are
if you have a
obviously some
GED?
criteria that like just that people use when they're evaluating each other, right?
Yeah,
But one of them
and-
is not being in jail. That is one of them.
Sure.
One of them is having a high school diploma. That's absolutely
Nobody
a thing
asked that.
women
People ask if you have a job.
Do you work?
Yeah,
You
yes, but
sustain yourself. If you do as an entrepreneur without having a high school diploma, why do I?
Sure, but that's so niche.
like I don't know
Sure,
why you're
so it's
arguing
not
with
a
me about this though.
I'm
It's
not
like a
arguing
weird
with you.
thing. I'm saying that like this is what people look for, right? And they may not
but
say
my
specifically, "Hey, like
that's
did
the
you get
point,
your high
though.
school diploma? Let me see your high school diploma." But these are the things that go through their mind when they're like like there are plenty of women, and you can argue with them. But plenty of women, if they find out a guy doesn't have at least a high school diploma, that they are going to be less attracted to them.
Oh,
right? Like,
so
Well, no,
there
I
is
don't
a
even- I wouldn't even say
no,
that
no,
part.
no. You
I'm disagreeing with
actually
Tom.
you actually just made my point for me, Prime. Less attracted to them if they don't have a certain requirement. One of those requirements is having a kid.
Kids. That's what exactly
Not
what
having
I'm
a
gonna go
kid.
there. I'm not
Exactly.
I'm not even talking
Okay.
about attraction.
So
I think
I don't know what
high
your
school
point is.
diploma.
So my point
is a-
stands. I don't know why
It
you disagree
doesn't.
with it.
I'm disagreeing with you.
It
No, I'm
doesn't.
saying
According to Prime's logic, it
Sure.
stands. You would
Well,
agree
hold
with that, Brett?
What? Why do you think? Hold on. Why do you think that what you just said conflicts with what I just said? Like, yeah, it doesn't.
No. I'm saying I'm saying it makes no sense for you to disagree with what I said since it doesn't conflict.
No.
If
Hold
you
on.
agree with what he's saying, then that
The
means
thing I
there's less
specifically disagreed with you on, right? You're talking about like it's arbitrary to have like to make a high school diploma like a part of this calculation. I'm saying that's not an arbitrary.
No.
thing.
I'm saying
That's-
it's arbitrary if you don't include not having kids. Like, sure,
She
I
didn't,
agree.
she didn't give us an exhaustive list. I'm
don't
not
think
the
it's
person,
not-
but she
No, no,
did.
no,
I'm
no.
just saying that she didn't give us an exhaustive
It's
list
not
as
about
to what
the exhaustive
marriageability
list.
means.
It's that she limited the list to make it more eligible women than men. But if you include one of the most reasonable things, which is having kids, you would have way more eligible men than women.
You gotta like we're not the ones to have this conversation with. Like you have to ask her about her source, and then because maybe that's included. It might be included. I don't know. Maybe something that's included in that list is never being previously divorced. Right? That might be on the list. I don't know. But like, I'm just saying that one thing isn't arbitrary. So that's it.
I would fundamentally say that being previously divorced is probably not on there, just because the statistical odds of Black people being even married, like getting to the point of marriage, is like lower than every other demographic. Like we don't marry at the same rate that everybody else marries. We just don't.
But like,
I think by the time a Black woman's 50, like I'd say women, because men have higher rates of it, or actually Black men have really low rates of marriage.
Also,
I think by the time of Black women are like 50, I think 75 or 80% have been married at least once. But the reason why I'm not including kids, or the reason why, like the thing about the high school diploma, I don't think it's about attraction. I think it, like, you can say that, like, oh, there's people without high school diplomas that are like are entrepreneurs and make tons of money, but I think that's like, I think you're talking about a really, really niche thing versus like if we talk about employment in the United States of America, generally you're going to speak to either a high school diploma or a GED, but it's just a requirement for like so many jobs.
Right? No.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, people look for some type of level of education.
But I'm not saying that like we're looking for. I'm saying like it would probably be a necessity to like maintain a household.
Sure. It's a how do you say? It's a probabilistic necessity. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you there, but I'm saying it's also a probabilistic preference, just based on if you're a single woman, you probably want a man that you want to start fresh with and build a family with, right? If you have no kids, so you're also looking for a man without the kids, and same for men. If you want to start fresh, have a new family, you probably don't want the burden or responsibility of another man's kids. So you also have a hierarchy of preference. To also prefer a woman without kids. So when you both have GEDs or high school diplomas, you're both not in jail, where we were taking this pool of people, men and women, and both don't have kids, because there's so many more women with kids. You're gonna probably have way more single, eligible, marriageable men.
Right, but like I said, I just don't think that it's just a weird thing to add to the category and say that like this is what makes me right.
What makes it what?
You're just adding something to the category, though. Like I just
that's what I'm saying.
With it being
I don't think it doesn't matter. Like, for me personally, I don't care who you marry. It doesn't matter. But but if you're saying from a perspective of, oh, there's just way more eligible, marriageable women out there, I'm like, okay, based on what? And that's where I'm talking about.
I said the three whats.
And I'm saying hold on. And I'm saying, if I ask you based on what, and you give me three things, I'm going to give you, what about this fourth thing? And if you say, well, I don't really care about that fourth thing, that's what I'm talking about being arbitrary. Because that fourth thing matters to a lot of people.
We can ask Bam maybe to
reach out to
ask Zimmy if she can provide a source. Because I actually wanted to get a source for that. So like if there was a study or something, she said it was an economic study about that. But like we don't know.
Wouldn't we also, hold on one real quick, wouldn't we also say that being single is one of those requirements? Like you could that's like a necessary requirement, right? And there's just way more single men than women, which means there's probably a way higher chance.
I don't think that's true.
I'm not sure about that.
No.
Especially not with Black women.
I just looked it up.
So listen, fam. On average, just period across the board, there are way more single men than there are single women. Just statistically across the board.
What age group? I don't know if that's true across the board for Black women. They're probably I don't know. I have to look at the stats, but in my
men in their 20s,
maybe at 20, girls have boyfriends. But I think like throughout life, I would argue that like I've never worried about the idea of getting married. Like I know whenever I want to, I can meet someone. And like like they might not be perfect. No, but I'm just saying general. I don't think men think about this typically. I think that men, because if anything, it's like the stereotype is always men are like afraid of like a woman like asking for it to be married, like versus women like strive, like I hope someone asks me, but like the stereotype is always men getting ultimatums, like she's getting too serious way too fast, she's clingy, I gotta cut her off. Like you know, whenever men at the wedding, whenever they throw the garter, like men get out of the way because like, oh God, like men try to avoid marriage until they're ready. Like I don't think that women think that way. I think a lot, especially black women, have a fear of if they're ever going to get married. Like I don't know if that's actually out there for me.
So I would say also with women are more likely to tolerate a partner that technically is shown every sign that they don't want them. You know what I'm saying? Like, no,
I don't know, man.
No.
Well,
So
I feel like men chase more. Maybe you know what I'm saying?
So
like,
men chase more. Yes, that's the firm fact. Before the relationship, but I'm talking about when you're in a relationship. That's technically not even a relationship anymore, and it's still a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you've taken yourself off the market for this person that has already shown you that they're not a good person or they're not marriage material. They are more likely to actually tolerate and support that man and actually help propagate like his escapades than actually like a man is. A man is more likely to like, oh my God, you cheated. Cool, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like
I've been in situations like that before where I'm trying to be in a casual relationship, and a woman that I was with, where I'm trying to be a casual relationship, she wants a serious relationship, and I'm open and honest. Hey, I don't want what you want. So if you continue this relationship, it's like under my terms of it being casual. They're like, well, I don't care. I'm still gonna be with you, and I'll wait for you until you want a serious relationship. And then they're just like hurting themselves. Like, if you want the thing that you want, I'm not gonna give it to you. So you should just like remove yourself in a situation. And I have been with women where they've actually done that, where I've tell you, I don't want what you want, and they remove themselves situation. But I have seen what Smooth has described, like in just my personal experience. Women are just willing to be in a relationship that is not optimal to them, just for the hope and dream that it will become that optimal one.
This isn't exactly what Zimmy had brought up in the previous panel, but I did a little bit of a binging. I did this from Bing, but
damn.
I know it's like that. It's hard out here. It's hard out here in the streets.
You couldn't find Google?
ChatGPT?
The website was down?
But no, it's yeah. So far fewer black men than black women. So this is from a site called flowingdata.com. And it says they explored the gender gap between black male and black female populations in the United States. There's a graph that says most blacks live in places with a significant shortage of black men, but most whites live in places with roughly parity between white men and white women. And then there's this excerpt from this study. It says they are missing, talking about black men, largely because of early deaths or because they are behind bars. Remarkably, black women who are 25 to 54 and not in jail outnumber black men in that category by 1.5 million, according to the Upchild analysis. For every 100 black women in this age group living outside of jail, there are only 83 black men. Among whites, the equivalent number is 99, nearly parity. So, this is, yeah. It's not exactly what you were talking about.
I'm not going to argue with that number.
That number is true, but that number doesn't have the requirement, which is like, okay, if you want the high school diploma, if you want the non-jail, that's reasonable.
I said that. It's not exactly what she said, but I was just giving you something.
Right.
I mean, it still just seems to be a discrepancy.
What about were all of those women single? Did it say all of them are single?
I didn't. I'll send you the link.
No, did it say that they were single?
Remarkably black women outnumber. I don't think.
I think
it's just a general population.
Yeah. So if black women are going to be in relationships way more, then that stat is irrelevant because it doesn't tell us the full story about which one of them are actually marriable.
But I don't know if that's true. Like saying that the black women are in relationships way more. I guess I don't think that's.
I said
true.
If.
But you're assuming it. You're saying that the study is correct.
Well, I'm basing it off of probabilistically because the study I posted in chat, it says that in general, women are in relationships twice as much as men. Like the vast majority of women are in relationships, the vast majority of men are not.
All right, let me see.
So that's where I'm basing it at. There could be some strange reason that black women is just gonna have the opposite effect for some reason, but I think it's reasonable to think it follows.
So I would say this though, like I'm just saying that's like off a life experience wise, like it's more common for a woman to go, okay, cool, I'm now in a relationship or I'm at least dating or talking to this guy than a man to actually have somebody. I think men it's like, okay, I'm with somebody for this period of time. It what for whatever reason, whether it's his own fault or her fault or whatever, combination of the two, they're now out of a relationship. He now goes another like 5 or 6 years before another like actual relationship, and then he's out the game. Like that's typically how it goes. Now there are those rare factors where like this guy is like, oh, I'm in a relationship, or I'm in a relationship, or I'm in a relationship, and then you gotta stack rack and stack of like what's the actual like quality of like people that he's actually like being with, and does he actually intend on staying with those people? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he just having somebody like they said, like to have somebody so he can actually be his best? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of men, they jump from relationship to relationship because they don't even know themselves. And it's the same with women. They do the same thing. A lot of people have not spent enough time alone to actually know themselves, to where they can be comfortable being alone.
Yeah, I dropped another article. It's kind
Sorry,
of
guys.
pointing to the similar idea of like the lack of numbers.
I feel like I read that article before.
Oh,
Sorry,
you
go
did?
ahead. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh shit! I dropped it in the wrong chat, and I dropped it into the Ask a Black Girl thing. That's my fault. This is the source I was talking about. I do apologize for that.
Oh, but yeah. The other thing that would also, which this isn't a hard rule, but like is going to be referenced in that is like similar education levels. Like that gap is just spreading year after year, which is not necessarily a requirement that you date someone with a similar education level, but statistically it's the most likely across the board.
Okay, I just asked ChatGPT to do the calculations. Based on these, it has estimates, not exact numbers. There are roughly 2.64 million single black men without children with a high school diploma and not in jail, and there are roughly 2.79 million single black women without children with a high school diploma and not in jail. So about a 100,000 discrepancy.
1,000 more black women.
150,000 more black women are single, no jail, and high school diploma.
Damn, 150,000 to one?
No, total.
No.
He
Oh,
said,
more.
But even
okay, I was making sure. I need to know how.
Yeah,
I was slaying out here.
I need to
If
know.
I had-
They're
Oh,
pretty
my
close. They're pretty close. So Smooth, it's 2.64 million versus 2.79 million.
So I just
Okay.
I'm just not
Okay,
ready to
that
trust ChatGPT because I've seen it like mess up too many times.
It's
But, like,
it's a rough
like-
estimate. Even ChatGPT says it's a rough estimate.
yeah. So but anyway, I'm still looking through this, and yeah, there's like the more like I'm on this article. It's behind a paywall. But like looking at this article, yeah, it's just giving like more evidence of like this difference. Like, and it doesn't bring out single people specifically. But there's a 1.5 million difference, and I think that we can trust that number more than anything else. But like if there's 1.5 million difference, I think there's also going to be a similar discrepancy in terms of single individuals, right? Like and like in terms of just being hard to find that type of person. So I don't know. I feel like this is just much more.
Azzy, what are your thoughts? I know you tuned in.
Right.
Thoughts on what you're talking about right now, or thoughts
No, just
on
conversation.
Just in the conversation in general.
I found that some of the things the ladies were espousing were a bit I don't know, ideologically conflicting. I thought you guys would push back more, but I guess that wasn't a night for it. I was just letting people just say whatever they want to say. Okay. And I'm overall I'm a little tight that y'all had Black Jubilee. Y'all didn't bring y'all didn't even send me a DM, man. You said, hey, we having on some real actual some some sisters, man. I don't got to see. It's not just
Well,
y'all, man. It's not just.
We didn't want
Okay.
you to scare the hoes, bro. So that's why.
Oh,
But
God.
Dream, you weren't invited either. So I don't even know what you're talking.
Well,
man.
I
That's
was at
exactly.
hold on. I couldn't
That's
even
exactly
comment.
what
I was.
I'm-
Hey,
I
so
couldn't even
look,
comment. I was at the reparations committee.
Hey, so look, I can answer that. So
Nah,
listen.
you can't fall.
No.
back
So
on that.
listen. To
We
keep it
didn't-
a
we didn't
band.
supposed to be
No.
all three of us
So
first.
to keep it a band. So look. Okay. So you got Bam is the organizer. Then you got me and Prime as hosts. He's hosting on Twitch. I'm hosting on YouTube. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is. So then you have the factor of originally this would have been a full panel. Like there wouldn't have been room for a men, because if we have more men, it becomes men versus women. Immediately, it immediately becomes that. And
They had one more dude.
we
you know
just
what I
did
mean?
not.
For
No, we
ladies,
did not want
for
that.
gentlemen.
We did not know. We did not want that because it becomes men versus women. And the whole thing was the topic of the conversation is ask a black girl. You can't ask a black girl when you have an equal number of men making input. It's gonna get weird. It's gonna immediately get weird.
I don't know, man.
So-
You
They
being
said
a
it
little
was
too
a
scary.
conversation. It was supposed to center.
Being a
That
little
was
too
the point.
scary.
Like I said, 'cause
No,
it's-
we're
it's
not
enough
being
fresh and
scary.
out there.
We're letting them talk. We're letting them talk.
Get your stuff off.
Yeah, get your shit off.
Man,
That's the whole point of the conversation was to let black women get their shit off. Like, yes, we were there to support certain black male issues or standpoints, or reaffirm like this is the point of black men in some aspects or areas. But at the same time, we for the most part we took a back seat. Like if you go timestamp it on who's talking when, like you're gonna guarantee you're gonna find most of the time women were speaking. Hell, I shut up for 39 minutes and like 45 seconds. After I did the intro, I did
My
not
God,
say
you counted
shit.
that shit. Wow.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
hey, bro.
Sisters
When
was
they were
chatting,
talking
bro.
about would you date outside your race, I don't think you guys really pushed back too much because they were all talking about
Nah,
culture.
they
Like,
never
they're-
pushed back, bro.
Like they were saying, I can
agree.
never date it.
I didn't want to push back.
No, but my thing is they weren't doing it for the right reasons, is what I'm saying. Like they should have just said, "Oh, I just like black men the most, like arbitrarily, or like I just think they look the best to me, etc., etc." But they all their answers were, "I don't want to have to explain my bonnet. I don't want to have to explain racism. I don't want to have to explain."
definitely-
Which is like probabilistic, but then my response to them,
What if
right?
there's a white guy who knows about bonnets?
Exactly.
it-
What
I know
about
that's what
what
it is.
about non-black men
Probabilistic
who are
is a
culturally
word, man.
educated? Like, I want to know what the answer to them.
Yeah,
to
but like
that
they
would
said, it
be.
wasn't just that. I mean, like they gave a whole list of reasons, and it wasn't just about bonnets. I was just literally what the first woman said.
Did you hear what I said? What did I
yeah.
just say?
Yeah,
You talked about.
They're saying they don't want to take that. They don't want to take the chance of.
I
like,
understand,
that.
but they wouldn't have to take the chance if it's proven to them.
Yeah, but
So
like
now
it's
you're
not
dealing with
just
like
being.
hypothetical.
But
You're no
hold
longer
on.
dealing with
Here's the
person.
thing, Dream.
Hold on,
Before you
There's
interrupted
no-
me, hold on. Before you interrupted me, I was going. That's why I'm trying to answer the question. So they said a lot more than that. So like, it's not just about a man who's being culturally educated, right? It's about like his family and whether his family will accept you. And it's about like
Sure.
the children, right? And like this another woman said, like, you know,
In order
interracial
not
kids
to be
have.
racist, you have to ask the question: if the man who is non-black meets the requirements that you want for a black person, except being black, then would you date them?
But
And
now,
they say-
now we're just dealing with a
No, no, no.
hypothetical. We're not talking about real life
That
anymore.
it
You're
is
saying that like
Mike,
if let's take the black person,
Jesus.
everything's perfect about them, and then you make them non-black. How do you feel about like? And now we're not
No,
talking
no,
about
no.
humans anymore. You're just trying to
No, no.
solve a hypothetical.
No. We are talking about humans because unless you think these humans don't exist, you don't
No,
think
I'm
there's a
saying
cul-
it.
Hold
I'm
on,
saying
hold
it's
on,
not
hold on.
relevant in dating.
It is really relevant because I don't understand why
I'm not gonna know your entire family before I date you.
you don't have to know my entire family. This is how it's gonna happen. You know who you meet me as a friend. You meet me as a friend, and over time, after getting to know me, you understand that I'm not. You don't have to explain any like racism things or like any things about black women because maybe I grew up in a neighborhood or maybe I was adopted by a black family, or for many reasons why a white man or a non-black person can understand black culture even better than some black people. There's many reasons. I'm not going to list them out for it, but it's just that these people exist. And let's say you meet this person, you become friends, you get to know that this is the person that they are, and then you start dating them, you like who they are, and then you meet their family, and then you're like, oh, your family's really accepting of them. If this person meets all the requirements and you still say, no, I wouldn't date this person, there's something like inherently racist about that.
Sure, but like I said, now we're dealing with hypothetical. That's not real life. You know what I'm saying? You have to like
everything is hypothetical.
No,
when you're asking if you're asking somebody,
if you ask somebody who they date, they just say who they date. You don't have to say that like, okay, what if we put you in this isolated world where things are different?
I would say I would preferably date black women. I would say that. Just say I would preferably date black women.
Or they can just say what they want to say.
But to say that I would never date a non-black person is racist, especially.
No, but they said something even more confusing than that. But go ahead.
Especially if it's based on things that are not inherently true. So, like on the off chance, like if you're talking about averages, sure, that's what preference is. Oh, probabilistically, I would only date black men.
Sure, but I'm not, when we're dealing with issues of probabilistic, like it's like in the niche. That's what I'm saying. We're no longer talking about real people.
We gotta cut that word out, man.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
I'm just saying it just feels really dumb to say that like oh, okay, would you ever go skydiving? And they're like, nah, I'm scared I could die. It's like, what if I could guarantee 100% that you wouldn't die? Then is you still not skydive? And like I guess
they're only no. Logically, they would have to say yes. Logically,
but we're not having a logic conversation. We're talking to people.
If you're not having a logic conversation,
I think
every conversation.
I don't think. Look, I disagree with Bam because I don't think the hypothetical that he was saying is too like out there, right? Like, in fact, I remember specifically there was a dating a matchmaker, right? A professional matchmaker, and she dealt with Asian women, and she dealt with Asian women, well, Asian people in general, but a lot of the Asian women that would come to her would say that, oh, I want a white man, right? And they didn't really examine why they wanted a white man. So she said, hey, if there was an Asian man or a person of the race, right, who filled all your criteria, because they had a whole list of criteria, who filled all your criteria but wasn't white, would you date them? And for most of them, once it was actually put to them that way, they're like, yeah, I think I would. Like, I think that's like, I mean, I think it's a fine way of constructing that argument. It's okay.
Sure,
but
and
like
100% of those women just went on to continue to date white men.
It
was irrelevant.
She at least according to that conversation, seems like she successfully put together Asian couples or just like Asian women with other people of other races. But I think that like that wasn't the point of the conversation. Like, so I disagreed with a lot of things that were said, but like it's not ask a black man, it's ask a black girl. I mean, that's the title that Smooth chose. So like I wasn't trying to like debate bro them into the ground about these things, you know?
Do you know that you're logically inconsistent here?
My thing is this, Bam, I've had a conversation with a racist. I debated a racist, right? There was a white man, and he's like, I will never date a black woman. And the reasons why, well, they're typically more masculine, typically have more testosterone, X, Y, and Z. They're typically more ratchet. And I was like, okay, well, what if you found a black woman who likes everything you like, the things, and you know, they're feminine. They have the traditional role that you prefer, X, Y, and Z, because these black women exist out there. He finally said exactly what he really wanted to say at the end. Well, she's still black, right? So that's essentially what these black women just said. Even if this white person or non-black person had everything that they were looking for in a black man, essentially they still wouldn't date them because, well, they're still not black, right?
Well, I mean,
that makes it racist. Reasons. What socioeconomic reason could it be?
I mean, they literally were talking about like if when you have mixed kids within 2 generations, like that, like the wealth is like non-black.
Why does that matter?
But yeah, that doesn't.
They care about the socioeconomic.
Wait. So bam. Most of the time when people are getting into a relationship and people are thinking about fucking, okay, let's just keep it a band. Like they're not thinking generationally. Okay, they're thinking right now in the moment. Can I tolerate you? And do I like what you're doing to me? That's literally what it is.
I don't date women under 5'5" because I think about kids.
Bro,
you can think about kids.
bro. Listen. If you,
I
if
think
you,
about kids. I don't want to
I
date
think
an
if you,
autistic
I think if
person.
you
Bam
look
is
up the
amazing.
fact, hold
I
on,
love
wait.
Bam.
If you look up the fact on Shaq himself and his wife, like their comparison, and then versus the size of his kids, I don't think you have anything to worry about
No,
at
that's
all
good.
genetically.
Shaq,
At all.
Shaq's 7 foot. Shaq's 7
Come on,
foot
bro.
one, and all his kids are
Smooth,
shorter
that was a
than him.
horrible example. Smooth, that was a
Yeah.
horrible example.
But I mean, no. But
I think a Shaq is huge, of course.
what I'm saying is his kids ended up taller than average. They still ended up taller than average.
Yeah, of
He's
course they
taller
were.
than average. Like, Bam, how tall are you? Like, let's keep
I'm
it a
like,
minute.
I'm like 6 foot.
Okay,
I'm like
okay,
5'11"
you're
with-
taller than
with
no,
6
you
foot
are
shoes.
taller than average.
That is-
Your
that's
kids
true.
are going to end up on a statistical probability end up taller than average.
Nah,
This
if I
is
date a
it is what it
4'11" girl.
is.
But listen, smooth. This is I have to keep saying this. I don't know. People don't understand some things. That dating, marriage, having children isn't about what's possible. It's all about maximizing the probability of what you want. So if he wants taller kids, he's gonna prefer a taller woman because he's trying to maximize his probability.
He's
He-
sitting
Okay,
up the
that's fine.
WNBA.
so
Like,
that's
I'm
why
not gonna
so that's
argue
why-
that.
Exactly. So that's why he has a limit for himself, which is arbitrary, and that's okay. Like all dating is subjective, right? But we can say he's heightest to people less than 5'5".
Jesus
and that's
Christ.
no, let's call
that's
him
okay.
a bigot. Let's call Bam
That's
a
okay.
bigot.
He's a
I like
bigot
that idea
against
better.
people
Bam.
who are on
I
the
should
shorter
change my
side,
name.
and that's okay. I think height is way more okay to discriminate than race. Like I think we can all agree to that.
I don't know. Is it like I feel like if we were vicious about like heightism, I think it would be just as terrible, right?
But it's not a protected class. So
yeah,
like,
I get you, but like you're saying that like that like these things are inherently different, so we can inherently treat them differently. I'm saying that like if you're just talking about bigotry. I'm sorry, I'm not going to argue this. This is pointless. Sorry,
Okay. So,
but
no.
Yeah, but as he wanted to say something previously, so
wait, real quick.
No, it was like
just to jump in here with what Dream was saying. I do feel like what Dream is saying is not statistically wrong, as far as like height being a factor in like dating and discriminatory as far as like dating people goes. Like height is a really big thing. Like for men, if a woman is taller than them, they're like Xing her out like almost off rip. And then when you have women, if the guy is not taller enough than them, then they're gonna X him off rip.
I want to be
Like,
boob height, right? So I could just suck them titties.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying that's just on average what it is. You can have some outliers. Like I've dated a few women that were taller than me, but on average, like the stuff that lasts.
Yeah, we get you. Yeah, we understand that. We already know.
How do you feel about women who say I need a man that's at least taller than me?
I feel like it's true. Like it's super easy to do. It shouldn't bother you because like the girl's height 5'4". So like
no, like look,
99%
D1. Sorry, I dream the thing that you want to focus in on girls who are saying I want to marry someone or date someone who's at least 6 foot. When they put like a number on that, that's the issue. Not that they're taller than them, because most men are taller than most women, right?
But like, is even the tall women are saying at least taller than me?
Well, yeah, because the women like to feel small. That's the thing that you'll hear that from them, right? They like the idea of feeling small. But a lot of tall women just like they eventually understand. My options are limited.
So like I was saying earlier, being heightist is way more acceptable. It seems like something that's okay in this society.
In our society, but
I think dating preferences are general. I think like just as dating preferences in general aren't really. Like in practical terms aren't really frowned upon. So like
no. I think there's a difference between dating preferences and dating requirements.
No, well,
I
was using those interchangeably. When I say dating requirements,
they're necessarily different because people who say I would prefer somebody that's taller than me would allow for the chance of dating somebody their height or shorter. Right. But people to say, he has to be taller than me means there is no chance for that same height or shorter man to date them. Same way I would prefer to date somebody who's a black person, which I would say that means I'm still allowing for the potentiality of a non-black person to like fall in love with them. But for somebody to say, I only date black people, it means that there is no chance. So that's why I'm saying a requirement versus preference. And I think when you have the requirement, that's when it comes more problematic.
But I don't think colloquially those mean two different things to people. I think most people who say they have a preference for something aren't going to date someone who doesn't.
But
have that.
ontologically, they are different.
Dream.
You're just forcing people into your language barrier.
I want to say,
they think about this way.
I
just don't say it the way that I
you.
say it.
I agree with you when you say that. Look, like if this had been a different forum, then I would have pushed back a lot more. I would have said like, hey, how is it that like talking about like just dating a black man, like how is it that racist? Like the one woman, Paradise, said that like she wanted to keep the bloodline pure. That's literally what came out of her mouth.
Yeah,
right?
she did go wild.
She literally said that. Now I would have pushed back against that. I would have like gone into like a whole thing. Like there's just so much there to talk
Paradise,
about.
your bloodline ain't pure. It's like
I know. I was gonna say that too. I was like, your bloodline probably ain't pure. Like get that 21andMe done or 23andMe done because it ain't pure. But like, I would have pushed back against that. But this is a different forum, so yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah, don't think of it as like
I don't think that's necessarily even an issue because most people like racially, like along racial lines, think that way. Like in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And
they think that way, it's racist.
But that's like this acceptable form of racism that every race accepts.
We can understand that
on some level.
We can understand that, but that doesn't mean it's not racist. Like you agree.
But
it's
also
racist,
not something. It's also not something like that. I don't think society is worth correcting in society. Like I don't think there's any value in trying to have a conversation about like and trying to like change someone's perspective on who they romantically are interested in. I don't think it makes society better that we've like changed who you find romantically interesting.
Bam, I agree with you.
But
yeah,
I think
agree.
It's like there's like an underlying premise that they believe, which is inherently racist, that can seep into other beliefs that they have.
Sure,
so that's why it's
the other beliefs
problematic.
will be the problem. Like you get the thing about.
But if you tackle it in this conversation, I understand why you didn't do it in this conversation because you just wanted to hear their perspective. You don't want to necessarily push back on them. So that's fair. I don't. Now that you've explained that to me, in a different scenario, you would have. So I appreciate that. So considering that that context, I like to challenge problematic views at all times as much as I can. So I understand in this context you didn't want to, because it may seep in, it may like overlap from one conversation to another, so you don't do like more work, or like you may hit two birds with one stone kind of situation. So it's like if you fix somebody's racism within dating, their racism may be fixed in a different aspect, so and it might be beneficial in that way.
But why don't we
even if it's not materialistically different in the real world in terms of dating aspect, but we will see a material difference in the real world because we fixed their racism within dating in a different aspect within the world.
So to address that point, Dream, I think that in trying to have like proper there has to be a time and a place for pushback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And at some point you have to let people that are underrepresented express themselves. There's been very few instances and platforms where Black women have been able to talk at length like this, especially coming from the diverse Black backgrounds that we had. Like, I think that is extremely rare. Therefore, we had to just kind of just shut up. You know what I'm saying? And I was okay with shutting up to let them get their shit off. Because like I personally have never heard most of the stuff like at length that they were getting into, and them going back and forth amongst each other. That's a conversation that most of the time when we're in the room, they would not have.
They have it on the podcast all the time.
Absolutely. And I've had a similar situation with when I kind of like did an interview or had a conversation with somebody that was like an astrologist reader and obviously I believe astrology is pseudoscience. I mean, it is a pseudoscience definitionally, but I just let her speak and just express her opinions. I didn't push back, even though I could have easily. So I understand, like, when you set up the space for that to happen, then that's what's going to happen. So I understand. That's why I wanted to come on that after panel to really talk about what you guys thought of what they said, really.
I don't think that, I mean, like I said, there's some stuff that I'm like, might have went a little far. But generally, I think that a lot of the things they were saying were fair. Like, I think it may make a lot of people uncomfortable, especially black men. But like, I don't think that some of the things they were saying about
I think most
the way
things they say were
they're
fair, yeah.
treating in the community, I think they were generally fair. Like, so even if they they may have had some little spice or a little perspective, like their own like twist
I was
or
a little
slight
confused.
biases to it.
The one that was blatantly misandrous, what was her name? Was that
Zimmy.
Missy?
Zimmy.
What was what was I forgot what she said. She said something.
I don't think
crazy.
she was blatantly misandrous. I think that was like
I mean,
the
she
meme
had,
that
she
was
self-admitted.
going
Yeah.
No, she is, but
She is,
that,
though.
she was on good. She
Self-admitted,
was
and
good
then the
today.
homie,
So like,
the
yeah.
homie in the background came
Yeah,
through.
today
was
she
like,
was
yeah.
actually fine. But yeah, Zimmy
Yeah,
can get wild.
I would love to hear more. I really want to hear from her. She really impressed me, Zimmy.
Do you
I
guys
put that in our private
you-
chat? But like,
Would you feel a certain way if one of your like female friends was misandrous? Because my ex, right? She had one of her best friends was misandrous, and I really like looked at her different. You know what I'm saying? Because how do you allow one of your close friends to be misandrous? Like,
I don't
doesn't
know,
that
how do
say
you allow
something?
your close friends to be misogynist? Guys do it all
I
the
don't.
time.
But that's what I'm saying. You would look at those guys who have those close friends who are misogynists to be like, whoa, there's something up with you.
It's
So I
power-
don't.
it's power dynamics.
None of my
It's-
friends are misogynists. Like,
No,
none
it's
of my
power
friends-
dynamics. There's conversations again, even though we're live right now. You have people in like the black people that you deal with that legitimately and probably for justified reasons don't really ever white people like that, and they'll say things that like white people get on my nerves. Like, and it's like at the end of the day, what is it? Racist? No, is it a form of like prejudice?
Yeah,
Bigotry?
but
sure. But
I fight them on that. If
every
like,
time you didn't make it to Morehouse fighting on that.
What are you saying, bro? I fought. Yes, we'd have debates all the time, bro. I was the guy that always advocated for like non-prejudice in all cases. Sometimes it got annoying to people, but I'm always doing that. Like, even with my current friends right now, I'm always battling their misogyny and battling their misandry. I'm just not gonna be like, oh, that's just that's just them. I'm not really gonna
Okay,
care.
so
I mean,
they do
our
have
friendship
those
is-
views, but they do have your
I've
views.
corrected them. Yes, I've corrected them, so they don't have it anymore. So
Oh,
over
I mean,
time, I've corrected-
according to you, they don't have them anymore.
yeah,
but,
yeah,
like,
yeah. Obviously, even I was misogynist and racist back then. Like, I used to be part of a black supremacist group even when I was in high school. So obviously, people change over time. But the point I'm making is, you're a grown person, like as in mid-20s and maybe older. You've had time to reflect on your problematic views. By now, you should already have corrected your closest friends that you've known for years and years. So I'm looking at you different. Like, if you're still friends with these type of people, no, you're like, okay, well, let your friends be racist and misogynist. That's
no, I
what
mean,
you guys
like
do?
I look, I correct family who are like
Exactly.
Yeah, but like I don't know. It's just that
You wouldn't allow them to just be openly, like, right? Like, if they say in front of you, you correct them. That's what I'm saying.
yeah, I do.
Okay,
But
good.
like, okay, I don't know.
You would look down upon people that don't, is what I'm saying, right?
Who don't correct? I mean, I guess. Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. I'm glad we agree. But Bam is like, let them be.
I don't know. I feel like
we established that Bam's a bigot already. So
no, well, sure, but I'm talking about like I think it all just means colloquially what's being said in the context of the conversation. Like to say like, oh yeah, she's a misandrist. Like where do you draw that line versus where do you draw the line of misogyny? Because I promise you, Zimmy probably thinks you're a misogynist. Like, but you would say that you push back against misogyny. But you would be by definition misogynist.
Yeah, so that was part of why I asked her to like start to like define those things, because I really wanted to know what she was thinking, because I'm like, dude, like, just because somebody might like agree like in like this one area doesn't mean like, oh, they're like this overall, like they don't support women in all categories or something like that. Like,
and this isn't me speaking for her. This is me. Well, I guess I am speaking for her. Her base point is, but due to patriarchy in the system we live in, all men are like by definition some level of misogynist. She separates like baby misogynist or like full blown. Like that was the thing she was talking about with the whole depth. Like you're probably not that different from like the people you think you're against.
And that's just so categorically disingenuous.
I mean, that's
Like
everybody's got one.
no. Yes, it is. Yes, it is to have a to sit a totem pole down and have a monolith and go, okay, you are at the bottom of the totem pole, and these people are at the top of the totem pole, but nobody is ever not on the totem pole. That seems
all
ridiculous.
she's saying. I don't want to speak for Zimmy because I don't know her like that. But like I imagine what she would say here is that like this is on a spectrum, that like living in America just by like osmosis, like black boys are exposed to misogynistic messages and have misogynistic ideals implanted into them, right? Now, like she wouldn't say that all of them are like a danger to women or anything like that, and all of them are trying to put them like back in the kitchen. She would say that like but she would probably say, and again, I'm just guessing, but that the distance between those two, right? Like where men think that, well, they're categorically different. I'm categorically not like
I
a
don't have
Hotep,
anything to
right?
unpack.
I
not
have
like
nothing to unpack at all. When you actually might, because you're on that spectrum, you're somewhere there, so you're closer to those people than you think.
This is so weird. Like, bro, like to be honest, that's like me saying, oh, all women are on some form of misandry. Like you could say that. You could say that and it could be fucking valid, but it sounds fucking stupid.
Why does it
in
sound
actual
stupid?
application? It sounds fucking stupid.
Everything's a spectrum, in my opinion.
No, but everything's to treat everything like a spectrum is horrible.
No, it's not. It's like the honest way of looking at things, understanding that the world isn't black and white. There, things aren't on or off. That there is like a large gray scale here. Yeah, that's actually the honest way of looking at things.
It's probably more dangerous
to
to think you're like incapable of something.
Yeah,
that's probably a more dangerous view to believe it. Like I'm so different from them. Like I couldn't possibly.
It's not even saying you're incapable of something. To have an outlier, to have a thought on a particular day that you feel this particular way, versus like this is your way of thinking. Because when you say that, you're saying that this is that particular person's way of thinking.
No,
that is that is a way of thinking. To think that way sometimes makes you that way or whatever. It puts you on the spectrum. But to have a just a thought, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what she's
okay. If you just had a thought, then you'd be way far on the other side of the spectrum. If it was just a thought you had at some point in time, then you'd be way far, because that's how the spectrum works. So you'd still be on the spectrum. It's really that simple. I don't know why you're arguing with this. I
don't put people on a racist spectrum. I either go, you're racist. No, I either say you're racist or you're not.
That's a poor way of looking at it. That's a terrible way of looking at it.
No. You're right, Smooth. You're right, Smooth.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Let me explain. Let me explain.
No.
Let me explain why. Let me help you out.
Go ahead.
There are people out there who don't have any type of racism in their body at all. I'm one of them, right? So I'm not a racist.
You were a part of a black supremacist group. What are you talking about? You tasted for life.
You
tasted for life. There was something. There's something that turned in your mind. There's something.
It's called being ignorant. It's called being ignorant. Being ignorant and misinformed means that you can't gain knowledge to change your mind.
If that's true, then you're on the far side of the spectrum. Like that's how spectrums work.
But listen. I understand. I'm trying to explain to you how it's both a spectrum and it's both. Isn't it called bimodal or something like that when it's that way? Where there's two options and it's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of, hey, I'm not a racist and you are a racist. And once you get a little bit of racism on top of, so there's a spectrum right here. And everything to the, this is my left, right? This is my left, even though it may show it right on here. This is my left. And this left is I'm not a racist. Anything, even the 0.0001 added up to I'm not a racist, categorizes you as I'm a racist.
And this is why,
even though it's a spectrum,
and this is
it
why
still means there's a I'm not a racist, and then there is I'm a racist.
This is the problem.
Because even if you have a little racism in you, you are racist.
No.
There's just a level. There's just degrees of how racist.
This is the problem. This is the problem that you and Dream. Sorry, you and Smooth are doing, right? What you're doing is like you're essentializing people. You're saying that this person, like that
not black.
Hold on, listen. Like you're essentializing people. You're saying that like I can identify a straight up racist because of like this and this criteria, right? And that person is essentially a racist. But if you don't meet that those criteria, or not all of them maybe, then you're not. So like what I'm saying is that like I'm not. It's well, and maybe this was like a bit of confusion. Is that in the spectrum that I'm talking about, it's not useful to necessarily call a person a racist, but just to say that people have racist ideas, ideologies, thoughts in their head, right? And there's a spectrum. Some
Having
people
racist ideas,
those
But
thoughts.
is that being racist?
Yeah.
If you
and at
believe in
some
any
point-
racist beliefs,
Ron,
you are
you're
racist.
being verbose.
If you believe in any
about
racist
that.
belief,
Yeah, and
you're
yes, I'm
racist.
being verbose to actually explain the point. I'm
You're
sorry, I don't know. Like,
overcomplicating
this is a nuanced conversation.
No,
I'm trying to
no
have
one
here.
thinks that way.
So,
if you have
literally
racist
lots
thought,
of people think this way. I'm sorry if this is new to you, thinking about things in a spectrum, but lots of people consider it this way. Once you realize the world's not black white, once you realize people aren't black and white, and so yes, you can be a person who works in an anti-racist field job or whatever, right? And you can still have like racism in your thought like an
You go
Asian woman
outside,
could
you
like
cross the
cut you
street.
off. An Asian woman could cut you off in traffic. You know, like something you say something about her because she's an Asian woman. Asian women don't know how to drive, right? Like that's the thing that happens to normal human beings. Now, is that person
Yeah.
a quote unquote racist?
and how is it?
I can't. I probably
You
not.
can.
But like
you said the,
point-
the crux of what you meant.
Okay, whatever. All right, like
And
I,
I just don't find it to be
like you're
meaningful.
saying, it's not realized that way. Even though you're speaking about how ideally it happens, but when it's realized, people always ask, "But bro, you racist?" Like they
Okay.
always ask,
one
or they
self-identifies.
deal with it in a fashion of saying, "Hey, that's not right. You
You're
shouldn't have a
literally
thought
not,
like
like,
that,"
listening.
because thoughts like that are problematic. They're stereotypical, and or racist. So people will judge you and treat you as
yeah,
such,
I understand people
even if
will.
you in reality may not be.
Yeah, exactly.
have just
They
been
might
a
not be because
idle
we're on a
thought.
spectrum. Okay, I've said all I have to say. I've got it all
So
out there.
I think what it boils down
Racism
to
isn't like neurodivergency.
Sure,
that's
whatever.
I don't know.
with the spectrum itself, right? I think the problem that exists with having a spectrum is that any one thing could put you on the other side, and I don't think life is that way. Like I don't think you have like this track record of doing all these things correctly, and then you do this one thing, and now you're on the spectrum of the bad side.
It's not
Like,
what you
That's really not how that works. how the spectrum works.
No. But what I'm saying is, it's now slided you slightly over to make you this more bad of a person, when you can just say in this moment you had a lapse of judgment, you had a very bad categorical like way of thinking, and that
there's a place in the
and that
spectrum
you
for
can
you.
that you self
Like, I
that
don't know.
you
The spectrum
that
includes
you
all of
either
these things. It's
corrected or
convenient
you
like that.
that either you were corrected or you self
There's a
corrected.
place in the spectrum of racism.
No, I mean,
Yeah, it's like,
what
I'm
Listen,
saying.
no, no,
I
we
don't
don't
think-
even deal.
I don't feel like that, because if we're talking about spectrum of racism, then you get back to the ideology of, okay, then fine, everybody can be racist. Everybody can, you know what I'm saying, can be systemically racist towards people. Everybody can, and you can start to like give everybody a point. Everybody gets a point. So therefore, nobody no longer has a point. If you're living
Okay,
life with everything
whatever.
on the spectrum, everybody no longer has a point.
Okay, all right.
No,
I
no,
just
smooth,
don't feel like
smooth,
arguing
smooth.
this
The real
anymore.
spectrum,
I really
spectrum-
don't.
The real
the spectrum-
spectrum, the real
Any which
spectrum
way.
is the
Is a
real
severity.
spectrum. Hold on,
The
hold on,
spectrum-
hold on.
The spectrum
hold on.
is a
The real
severity of
spectrum is-
racism, Smooth. So,
Can you hear me?
you do have the non-racist, and then the spectrum is how racist are you, right?
But,
so
but
that's
you
where the
consider
spectrum.
yourself as on a
Okay,
non-racist
yeah,
side. You're
Yeah,
on-
of course.
you're the
You
perfect
think it's
side.
impossible somebody not to be racist? That's what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we exist in a country with different cultures. We have cultural biases.
You can have cultural
A
preference without
cultural,
being
a
racist.
cultural bias is gonna be is a racial bias. Like,
No. You can have cultural bias without being prejudiced.
no, you can't.
No, so
That's
it's
what
like
bias is.
no. For me to say I like American food is a cultural bias, correct?
I guess yeah.
Okay, so I don't
I
like
gotta head
Indian
out.
food.
Bye,
Is that
guys.
is that
Everyone,
prejudice against
thanks, you know.
Indians or
All
something?
right, prom.
Okay. I just didn't want to. My patience was at an end there. Okay. Anyway, thanks all for coming through. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a bit different content. Hopefully, we can have those. Talk to these black women again. We wanted to do that in previous days, but we just weren't able to. Anyway, I'm gonna send the Twitch crew off to Not So Erudite. And yeah, we'll see you maybe tomorrow for all